Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Maker, and we are here. We are in top cut, my villains, of the Lorcana Cross Continental Clash. We have an incredible matchup coming today, but that's not it. We got multiple things to be excited today, my guys. I am joined. You look at him. Look at that face. You can see him. I am joined by the legendary, the mythical Frank Karsten, the first ever Lorcana DLC champion and DLC extraordinaire. Frank Karsten, welcome, my friend. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great, Baker. What an introduction. Wow, you are full of energy. I love it. And I'm also very excited to be co-casting here with you today. It's an honor.
Oh, the honour is entirely, that's feel very kind to say so, sir, but the honour is entirely mine. A legend in the TCG space, the first DLC champion, someone I've had the opportunity, we had you on the channel, seems so long ago now, right after Lille for an interview, so I got to know you a little bit better and know just how nice of a person you are. You've got a great mind for the game, and I know that you're someone that the community respects a heck of a lot for good reason, so it is genuinely my pleasure to have you here, sir. But like you say, we've got an incredible reason that you are. Why are you joining us today, Frank? What has brought you into the stream today? What's lured you in?
Well, I wanted to watch this match in the first place. We will have an awesome match coming up between Kurt Spice and Ding Kam Pham playing, the post-ban constructed format. I wasn't able to participate in this edition of the LCCC myself due to a packed work and travel schedule in the preceding weeks. But I was very excited to see these matches. And I just reached out to Pavel saying that, hey, if you're looking for a co-caster, I want to watch these matches, might as well jump in. And well, I'm just honored to be part of it today.
No, it's going to be incredible. Yeah, Pavel sent me a message saying, Frank wants in. He wants in. Do you want Frank? And I was like, oh, you have no idea how much. It's going to be a pleasure. I know for sure that this can absolutely be a learning experience for me as well, versed as you are in TCGs, and hopefully I can take what we create today and hopefully push forward with it in my Lorcana career. But while I say that, the majority of the chat will know who you are, but I always like to be super newcomer friendly. So before we get into everything, like I say, starting at 4 o'clock UK time, transpose that to your time zone of choice, that's when the actual match will be starting. So we've got some time. We've started early for a couple of reasons. One, we are going to take a look through the deck lists and see what these players have brought, and it's going to be invaluable to get your thoughts on that. See, he's excited, guys. He's excited. So that's going to be the meat and potatoes
of this.
A good one. It will be good, and that's going to be the meat and potatoes of today's pre-show. But like I say, it's not every day that the Lorcana community gets to hear from you, Frank Karsten, as busy as you are with your fingers in lots of different pies. So I absolutely would like to take advantage of that. And to the people watching, don't worry, I got you. Frank is the main character here today. I am here to support and learn. I'm going to add some. I'm not going to be invisible, as you know. That's hard for me. I'm going to add some color. And as you're talking through like lines and deck decisions, and if I've got questions, I'm absolutely going to come in with those questions. But I absolutely want to take advantage of having you here and listen to as much as you have to say, because again, it's not every day. These people get to hear me every day. I can upload a video anytime, and they can always hear what I've got to say. But I want to take advantage of having you here. So just to start all that off, I'd like to start with just 5 minutes tops, maybe less if we get there quicker. For those that might not know who you are, could you give us a summary of your experience in TCG, other TCGs before Lorcana, and what got you into Lorcana?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I will say that the actual main characters today are going to be Kurt and DKP. They're going to be slinging the cards, but I will be more than happy to offer my analysis as well. So, to introduce myself, I am Frank Karsten. I indeed won the very first Disney Lorcana Challenge back in May 2024, playing Steel Song with Piglets. There I got this awesome trophy. Very, very proud of that as an accomplishment. And my background in gaming mainly stems from Magic the Gathering. I've played that game for decades at a high level, uh, both found tournament success and written many articles on strategy about the game. I was inducted into the Pro Tour Hall of Fame for Magic the Gathering already like way over a decade ago. And currently, Magic is actually still my main game. I don't play as much as I once did, but I do write weekly articles on metagame developments for that game for Wizards of the Coast, and I support the event coverage of premier tournaments for Magic, mainly in Europe. Um, when I saw Lorcana already like roughly 2 years ago, I was immediately excited because the game mechanics seemed familiar and fun. I also liked the Disney characters. Brought me back many great memories as a little Frankie watching all those Disney movies. And yeah, I picked it up immediately. Enjoyed it, both the elegance of the game as well as the incredible strategic depth, and yeah, found some success in tournaments. I also write about Lorcana currently on a monthly basis for TCG Player, the ideal website to get your cards in the United States, and sometimes also for the Ultimate Guard blog. Now I went also 3-1 at the previous LCCC, just missing the single elimination playoffs on tiebreakers. And like Kurt and DKP, I'm qualified for the World Championship, which will happen at some point later this year. And it's just
Allegedly.
Awesome to.
Allegedly. No, it will happen. It will happen.
I'm sure it will happen at some point. Like you gotta believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just great to have seen the development of the game, of the competitive scene. I've met so many awesome people in Lorcana, and yeah, it's just been an incredible ride so far.
No, absolutely. What a story. And I will flex for a moment. I do, like as you mentioned, you played Steel Song in the DLC Lille and took the trophy for first place, and hence making you a Worlds qualified player. And I'm going to flex. I do have a playset of Frank Karsten Piglet Pooh Pirate Captain cards. Now I don't play Steel Song, so I've never played them. But like when the time comes, I do indeed have the Piglet side. It is a pleasure to have you here, sir. As experienced as you are, it really is an honour. And yeah, like there you go. There's if you didn't know Frank Karsten, now you do, and a Worlds qualified player. So your thoughts today are going to be invaluable, especially because one of our players did bring along Steel Song. So I'm sure you're going to have lots of analysis that you can give us concerning that. Before we do,
no piglets though, unfortunately.
No piglets though, unfortunately. No, that's going to be the first question in the interview, Frank. Where's the piglets, Kurt? Before we get into those deck lists, again, taking advantage of having you here, sir, and like wanting to get your thoughts on a couple of things. And hey, please, I don't think it is linked down below currently, but I will link it down below after the stream. So if you're watching this not live, it will be linked down below to an interview I did with Frank, again, nearly a year ago now, after DLC Lille, where we go into a lot more detail about your history, your background, and lots of things that are Frank Karsten, including, I believe, your favorite Disney character is Gyro Gearloose. Do I remember that right?
Yeah, that is the inventor from
Yes.
DuckTales. Actually, in the Netherlands, the
popular,
Donald
right?
Duck comic is very popular. I always read it every week when I was a kid. And the stories with where Gyro Gearloose has some crazy invention were some of my favorites.
I hope you won't mind me saying that like makes sense. Like when you say it like the wacky genius with these mad ideas. I hope you won't take offense when I say that suits you to a
No,
T,
not at all. It suits me.
Brilliant. So I love that. But yeah, there's something I'd like to get your thoughts on, and like I could ask you 100 questions, but we'll leave it to one, which is like the big headline at the moment in Lorcana, even though it's been a week plus, but it's still very much the big thing. We have had our first ever competitive bans in Lorcana. We had an errata some time back, the first and only of its kind for Bucky. but they have decided to slam down the ban hammer on 2 cards, Fortisphere and Flavisham. Now, I understand that this question is multi-layered and is probably more complicated than just a 5-minute discussion. But with that bared in mind, I would love to get your thoughts on these bans, your opinions on why it happened, was it right to happen, and how you see the metagame progressing as a result of that.
Yeah, so big news indeed. Those bans. In general, when it comes to card games, I always feel like bans come at a major cost, because there are players who spend a lot of time and effort learning a deck, collecting the cards, and then when all your favorite toys are taken away, it's quite a big blow. So in an ideal world, there would never be any bans in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's also nearly impossible to get all the card designs perfectly right, and sometimes bans can be needed to keep the game fresh and balanced. In particular, when there is a deck that is just dominating with no particular bad matchups. Now, before the bans, I saw websites with win rate matrices that showed that Sapphire Steel had at least a 50% matchup against everything else in the metagame, and assuming that data is all correct, then an equilibrium metagame would basically be 100% Sapphire Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And if you play something else, you're not improving your chances. And when such a thing happens, a ban is just needed in order to get the metagame back into a more diverse state.
Mm-hmm.
So I can definitely understand that a ban was necessary here. Then, of course, there's the question of what do you ban? So, in my mind, the Fortisphere ban was clearly correct, mainly because it kind of breaks the color identity of Steel. So it was arguably a design mistake in the first place, right? The designers, I believe, want Sapphire to be about items,
Mm-hmm.
and work with any ink pairing, not be forced to go into Steel to gain the best items. You can give some other items to non-Sapphire ink, but then they should not be on par with the best Sapphire items.
Yes.
The Fortisphere, in my mind, is equivalent to, let's say, printing, a card like And Then Along Came Zeus, just giving it the same effect, calling it, I don't know, And Then Along Came Hercules, and putting that into Emerald, which is a color that shouldn't have access to damage-based removal. That would also be a similar, color break. And if you view it as just a design or development mistake in that regard, then Fortisphere, especially given its enormous impact on the metagame, should be removed. But just taking out Fortisphere probably wasn't enough, because the Sapphire decks were still arguably too strong compared to the rest. And then there's the question of which other Sapphire cards to potentially ban. Hiram is one of the options, and it makes sense to me. It just gives you such an edge in resources while not setting you far back on tempo. And for the health of the game, it's probably a good thing to ban both cards.
Flavisham in particular as well. Unless you were a Ruby deck, that was nearly a guaranteed 4 cards. There are obviously some niche situations, but considering our metagame, that was the most realistic way that Flavisham wasn't going to be allowed to at least draw 4 cards, 2 on play, and then as long as you've got the other item, which if your deck has done what you've built it to do, you should have. Again, it's not right to say nobody had a problem with Flavisham being banned, because I have seen some takes. But from what I've seen, the majority of the Lorcana community are in agreement that Flavisham is fair enough. Again, some company probably withstanding, including chat. But Fortisphere, I've seen a lot more discourse about from various players saying that it wasn't necessary. So I find it interesting that you kind of started that whole thing with starting with Fortisphere and saying, this was the clearly more relevant one to ban. Maybe relevant's the wrong word, but it goes into what you say of, like, Steve said as much in the Discord when he was doing a Q&A about the reasonings. It's just, it goes against the color identities that they want to try and maintain. And I know some people have pointed out some certain hypocrisies with that, with certain cards, but that's always going to happen. But overall, speaking as someone that reviews deck lists, since the bans, it's looking a lot healthier. Obviously, we don't know when Worlds is. I would make the strong assumption that it's going to be in at least set 8 format, maybe beyond. It could be set 9 format for all we know. I would just be surprised if it was set 7, just because we are not too far away from the reign of Jafar, unless everything's going to be super last minute. So my final question would be to you, if we are going to get set 8 and then maybe more before Worlds, what would you like to see the meta get to continue to diversify it? That's quite an open question, I grant you, but is there anything in particular that you think, that you're passionate about, that you've thought of, that you feel like could benefit the game?
That's a great question. I think before answering it, I will also have to go over what the post-ban metagame is going to look like first. Just to answer, like, what decks get better, what decks get worse, so we can evaluate that before, putting in set 8.
Sure.
Now, due to the bans, obviously every non-Sapphire deck gets better. I mean, that much is clear, including strategies like Ember Steel that were very strong before set 7. But going a little bit deeper, there were also strategies that were particularly weak to Hiram. Then I'm mainly thinking of discard decks that really attacked the opponent's hand, tried to deprive them of resources, and then they were blown out by a Hiram that just undoes all of their hard work by just drawing so many cards over the course of turns. So we'll definitely see more Emerald discard decks. Not in the matchup we're going to see today, but in general in the metagame. And the other aspect is, okay, well, Sapphire may get worse, but were there also Sapphire strategies that did not rely as heavily on Hiram? And that is in particular, also what we'll actually see today, the DKP version of Ruby Sapphire. It did use Hiram, but it wasn't as important as in other Sapphire fights.
As much.
Yeah. So those decks will certainly rise up. Now, what I then expect is just a healthy balance of some Ruby Sapphire, some Ember Steel, like a whole bunch of like green discard decks. Amethyst still a very strong color. Can even play like mono Amethyst almost, and it'll work. So lots of different viable options, and I expect like a balanced metagame. For set 8, I would hope to see actually a couple more dual ink cards, because right now we only have a few for every color pair, but there's still a bunch of ink combinations that we are hardly seeing, whose synergies are not as powerful or as pronounced, and perhaps those can be elevated with like specific targeted dual ink cards. That's my hope for Reign of Jafar.
That's great. And are you, just on a slightly different note, you will be voting for Jafar, right? For the Reign of Jafar. You are a supporter of Jafar and his taking over Lorcana. I just need to check.
Well, I guess we're on the Lorcana Villain channel with Jafar being one of the main villains. So I'll put my vote in for another villain. Sure.
I knew I could count on you, Frank. And that being said, let us jump over. Hopefully, nice little transition there to the decks. Nice segue there, really, off of the discussion about Sapphire and how it adapts. So I feel like, naturally, it will be a nice starting place to take a look at this Ruby Sapphire deck, Mr. Karsten. But before you do that, let's talk a little bit about the man himself. We've got the player achievement card down here. We have, and I know he'll be mad at me if I don't give him a big dramatic intro, because he does deserve it. We have the legendary DKP, who there is a strong argument to be made, Mr. Karsten. I think a strong argument, the most successful Lorcana player so far in terms of results. This man has so many accolades to his name. Let's take a look through some of them right now. The winner of DLC Melbourne, top 8 in both DLC Toronto and Bologna, top 16 in DLC Fort Worth, top 32 in DLC Birmingham, top 128 in DLC Bochum. Not to mention a bunch of other unofficial events. We know just weekend just gone, a 100 and I want to say 33 player event hosted by Battle Bear and Tintenverat, which I think I'm saying wrong, apologise, but these two companies came together to put on a very large tournament. It was streamed on the Ultimate Guard Twitch channel. It was I will say it was a fantastic production. I managed to catch quite a lot of it. Really was a huge fan of that production. It was really top tier. I wouldn't have chosen the gangster rap music for the intermission, but that's just me. But overall, the production was top tier. The casting was fantastic. Loved the event. And DKP getting first place there, and I'm sure we could list off a few more unofficial events. So what a resume from DKP. And he has been on this Ruby Sapphire deck for a while, and it's quite a nice story in Lorcana, I think, Frank, because this is a deck that he has been working on, and it has been progressing basically since the start of the game. He's been very loyal to this ink combination throughout his DLC run, at least, and it's taken different forms, obviously also with different sets being released. He first made his name running a 7-cost uninkable Sing Together song, Dig a Little Deeper, which became his trademark. We haven't seen it for a while, but it's been great to see DKP evolve this list as time has gone on. And for the end of set 6, he seemed to have come to as close as perfect as it could get to the current meta game, and it very much looked like this, but post-ban adaptations here. So, Mr. Karsten, I'd love you to talk us through this deck list. What jumps out at you first?
Well, first of all, it is very similar to the deck that DKP used to win DLC Melbourne, where he unveiled indeed this latest build of the deck and took it by storm. Now, the general game plan of the deck is just to ramp in the early turns and then control the board with Maui, the hero to all, also the half shark as the perfect challengers, or just perhaps wipe everything with Be Prepared. A key card in DKP's version of the deck is MacDuck Manor, because, well, it survives Be Prepared. It also induces the opponent to challenge it, which in turn unlocks the ability of Maui Half Shark. So really putting sort of a multi-pronged attack on the opponent, where you can also win the game out of nowhere with some lore from MacDuck Manor, a Pirate's Life, the ability of Maui Half Shark. So an awesome build. Now, compared to his DLC Melbourne winning list, of course, there's no High Ram anymore. He also got Brawl and Super Goof. And instead, he's now put in 4 copies of Sisu Empowered Sibling. There's no coils to be around. Those have gotten far worse without the High Ram. But just by itself, it's a powerful card, especially in the metagame where lots of smaller characters are coming back. There's also 3 copies of All Is Found, which can ramp you into the big Sisu. You just need to have some cards in your discard, but then it gets you there. And also 3 copies of Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam, that of course was not available when he won DLC Melbourne. That was with the previous set. Now, if you take a look at that, so no more Brawl, no more Super Goof, no more High Ram, it means that he has far less early game interaction. But with the addition of Sisu, All Is Found, and Tamatoa, he does have more late game power. And something like that was needed after the ban of High Ram, because you definitely need to have enough card advantage. So card advantage in basically any card game is can be defined as a move that leaves you with more cards in hand, in your inkwell or your board, or any move that is basically card neutral for you, such as playing a character, but that leaves your opponent with fewer card resources. That's all card advantage. So Hiram was one of the best card advantage engines, and now you are replacing it with, Sisu, which can come down and take out opposing characters, getting you up in card advantage. There's Tamatoa, which if you have, the foresight of playing and banishing your popsicles, also gets you +2 cards. And even that silly All is Found, well, it gets you +1 card effectively. So that's how you can sort of replace the effect that Hiram had as like a refill engine in the late game. Overall, yeah, just a coherent list that makes sense after the ban of Hiram. You will have to keep in mind that he is running far more uninkables now with the addition of the big Sisu. But with some prudent planning and mulliganing, you can get around it.
Yeah, and again, absolutely correct. But even then, it's still only 12, right? It's the 4B preps, the 4 How Far I'll Go, and the 4 Sisu. So he's done well because we know there are a lot of quite tempting uninkable cards in combination. But yeah, the All is Found in particular, a card that DKP ran over the course of the Battle Bear event. From my recollection, he was inking it far more often than not, but of course I don't know what was going on in the games that weren't streamed. But there was obviously something that he liked about it. And just to bring viewers up to date, maybe this is the first time you're catching a LC3 stream. This is not an official event. This is not sanctioned by Disney Lorcana or Ravensburger. This is fan organised. A huge shout out and thank you to the legendary Pavel of Pixelborn Connect and the entire team. Wonderful team of judges who organise all of the events. And shout out to the players as well for giving up their time. Hopefully they all have fun doing this and it's good testing opportunity, but it is still time, which is the most precious resource that we have. So we thank everyone involved, from players to staff, with the organisation of this. But yes, we have gone through Swiss rounds and we are in our top 6 at the moment. Now, one game, which I'll have to double check when it's taking place, but is Moyen versus Artabax, who were the undefeated players. They will be facing off, and the winner of that match will jump straight to the finals. Whereas the other side of the bracket, we have the match that we'll be watching here, Kurt Spice versus DKP. And then later on today, Mr. Karsten, you're very popular today. I believe you're joining the legendary JDZ's Quest. Which is
yes.
That is
also going to be
that is an honor. That is an honour in and of itself. JDZ, one of my favourite people in the community. That's going to be taking place later on over on Twitch. It might be on YouTube as well. But that matchup is Spessy, my friend and co-caster, who's been going on a tear with some aggro, taking on the incredible Zan Zayed, another player who's definitely in that conversation for some of the most successful Lorcana players concerning results so far. Another fantastic player. So lots of Lorcana today, and the winner of those two matches will face off to see who's going to meet either Moyen or Artavax in the final. One more piece of context, it has already been said that whether it's Moyen or Artavax, whoever is in the final, they will choose the play draw because they have earned that through their performance in Swiss. So whoever makes it all the way there will have to assumedly be on the draw, but these are fantastic players. It can be done. Before we segue over to Kurt Spice's list, Frank Karsten, we've talked a little bit about DKP, and I don't know if you're familiar, Mr. Karsten, as I know as knowledgeable as you are. But I know you're a very busy man, so you might not keep up on the day-to-day. But there was a discovery not too long ago, sir, of ancient scriptures of Lorcana. The Lorcana elders, they left us depictions predicting the future of the game. Bless them, please. Respects in chat for the elders, the ancient
Beautiful.
scriptures. And because we were hosting DKP today, I thought I'd do some research and see what the elders may have foreseen about DKP. And did you know they wrote of this ban happening, Frank? They said that it would happen. They said it would send a rupture through the Lorcana community, and the Sapphire players would be left staring out to the ocean, thinking, what is the future for our ink? What is the future for how far I'll go? And here they depicted a vision in the distance, a vision, a prophecy of one who would stay loyal to the ink colour and would take them to new heights. So here we have the legendary DKP depicted by the Lorcana elders. We must show our respects. They were so graceful, Mr. Karsten, don't you think?
Absolutely, bravo. Yeah, you never know how far it'll actually go, but very impressive how DKP stayed true to his strength, and high ram or no high ram, Sapphire decks are still going strong, at least Ruby Sapphire. In fact, Zan Syed, who you also mentioned will be playing later tonight against Bessie, is also playing a very similar Ruby Sapphire deck. So even without high ram, this deck is definitely still going strong. In fact, if I looked at DKP's list from last weekend's tournament, the Oslo Meisterschaft, he actually registered pretty much the same deck.
Minus one Goo. I know he had a one-off Super Goo.
Yes.
That he always seemed to have on 4.
He does not have that anymore, but he added a third Tamatoa. That was, I think, the only change. But yeah, it just shows a winning strategy will still stay strong.
And speaks to the power of the Porpsicle. But as much as I'd like to continue to, I know, as you said, Zanzayed is playing some Ruby Sapphire later, so you'll have another chance to talk about a Ruby Sapphire list. I think he's playing Bell as well, so I look forward to watching the streams later on JDZ's channel and seeing your thoughts on that. But let's jump into the opponent. Another incredible player, well established. We have the wonderful Kurt Spies! We have a top 8 at Southside Gaming 10K, which are always very large player pool events with a lot of great players in the room. We have top 16 at the North American Championships, which is an incredible accomplishment. Not everyone gets to even play the North American Championship, so to play it and get top 16 is a fantastic accomplishment. And top 4 in DLC Chicago, so another fantastic set of accomplishments. And I've never met Kurt, but we've spoke up a couple of times. Again, such a stellar human being, an example of a great person in the community, so I want to give him his flowers. And he's brought along some Steel Song, which again, you made your name originally in Lorcana as the DLC Lille champion, playing some Steel Song. So I'm very interested to hear what you've got to say about this. My immediate reaction, though, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, was because traditionally Steel Song, especially Whole New World versions, don't have a great matchup into Ruby Sapphire. If they're ramping and you're refreshing their resources so they can keep ramping and they've got access to these big cards, they don't need to worry about the draw engine. So traditionally that's pretty bad. So I thought, when I saw this list, I was like, oh, is that you reading that there wouldn't be much Ruby Sapphire because of the bans? But before the stream started, Frank, you alluded to something along the lines of Kurt seems to have actually taken into account that he might go up against Ruby Sapphire. So please, I'd love you to continue to cook. I'm willing to taste anything you've got. What do you think of this list, and how do you feel about it in this matchup?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that Steel Song generally is not going to be favored against Ruby Sapphire. But I can still imagine several reasons for Kurt choosing this deck into... I mean, everyone was expecting DKP to play his favorite deck. So Kurt, I think he has a lot of experience with Steel Song. I already met him back at the TCG Player Invitational back in October 2023, where he also played with Ariel and A Whole New World, and this was all the way back in set 1. So he has experience with this strategy already dating back nearly 2 years, the entire span of the game, and I was already impressed by his plays back then. I am not surprised at all to see him qualify for the World Championship. Excellent player. Now, Steel Song, of course, great at leveraging the singer mechanic. It has some issues against Ruby Sapphire because, you know, one of your best openings, turn 1 Cinderella into singing Let the Storm Rage on turn 2, doesn't really help much against them because Ruby Sapphire is not reliant on cheap small characters. And also the large number of sweepers, those be preparers, those big Sisus now coming back in DKP's list can stifle your development as an Ember Steel player. A whole new world can indeed give them access to all those sweepers while they ramp in the early turns. So it can sometimes be a bit of an uphill battle. But Kurt has a couple of interesting card choices that may give him an edge. First of all, he's playing the Queen shift line rather than the Robin Hood shift line. Generally speaking, in this deck, I tend to prefer Robin Hood when you're playing against steel decks because of its high willpower. Also against aggro decks because it has a beneficial trigger when challenging smaller characters. But against Ruby Sapphire, the Queen I think is preferable because of the cheaper shift. Sometimes even allowing a whole new world to be sung as early as turn 2. And also because the Queen makes it easier to challenge, well, in this matchup, locations like MacDuck Manor. So I think this choice for the Queen already shows that he is making his card choices in mind with the likelihood of playing against DKP's Ruby Sapphire deck. Another card in Kurt's list is the world's greatest criminal Mind. He has 3 copies of that, which is a suitable answer to Maui Half Shark, also to the Big Sisu. Very efficient removal against DKP's threats. If you're playing against just a wider field, World's Greatest Criminal Mind still combos nicely with the Queen. You know, if Kurt wins this one and plays a different matchup in the next round, the big Queen can actually give a chosen character +4 strength, and even give an opposing character +4 strength, allowing you to then target it with World's Greatest Criminal Mind, so that synergizes nicely. Now, there are when I play this matchup, I also like to have some aggressive 2-drops. That's why I actually had the Piglets way back in the days. Kurt does not have Piglet or Lilo to reinforce an aggressive opening. He doesn't have a whole lot of 2-drops, but Mr. Smee is still excellent, and shifting the Queen is a valid option as well with his deck. A final notable card choice in Kurt's deck, which I'm not sure it's for this particular matchup, but still it stands out, is Ariel, the Sonic Warrior, the 6-drop. This takes slots that in some other lists may be taken by Miss Bianca, Unwavering Agent, or Cinderella Stouthearted. But I've always liked Ariel Sonic Warrior as a high willpower character against other steel decks, or with her ability against like perhaps some Amethyst decks with smaller characters. In this particular matchup, I'm not sure she's going to excel, but importantly, she has 8 willpower, so she can take 1 hit from Maui Half Shark and still live. 8 is more than 7. Might come up. But may not be for this matchup in particular. Overall, with 4 copies of Daisy playing against 4 copies of Be Prepared, it's clear who's going to be the aggressor in the matchup. Where Ember Steel is going to try to get to an early lore lead, and then hopefully cruise to victory.
You mentioned the Daisy. Just one quick point to that. You mentioned the Daisy. This is Daisy looks set to have a pretty good time against this deck. If you like more non-character cards than character cards, when you're running a deck where you might only have a handful of non-character cards, it always feels bad to be denied a Daisy draw. But with this build, I would say it's definitely, depending on the opening mulligan, of course, which will obviously sway the maths a little bit, but pretty good odds for Kurt to give DKP a whole lot of nothing with these Daisies.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is also essential to recognize that the DKP does not have any brawls, does not have any super goofs. So if Kurt starts with the curve of Daisy into Mr. Smee into, even Ariel, right? Can just play that. There's no brawl, all safe. then he can absolutely get off to a great early lead. And DKP does not have the brawl to take out an Ariel or a Daisy if need be. Does not have Super Goof to challenge Mr. Smee. So in the early turns, Kurt will certainly be ahead. Now later on, it's going to be it's going to be interesting because DKP is running 8 sweepers, 4 Be Prepared, 4 copies of the big Sisu. So when you're the Ember Steel player here, you're gonna have to walk a very fine line. On the one hand, you want to keep up the pressure because, like, if you would take the foot off the gas and just only be questing with a single character or so, then you give DKP much time to come back with challengers, or just play ramp, card draw, I don't know, drop even double MacDog Manor. So you can't really give them that much time. But you also don't want to overcommit into a sweeper and lose any more characters than necessary. So it's going to be a very tough line in the mid game. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Kurt will navigate that tension. Of course, he does have some counterplay to DKP's sweepers. He can use speed to stop Be Prepared for a turn. He can use characters with 3 or more strength to get around the big Sisu. In any case, we can expect to face multiple back-to-back sweepers once DKP hits 7 or 8 ink. And when we get to the late game, it will truly be such a complete Armageddon. It's going to be interesting to see.
Fantastic. As you see, the players are nearly ready. I'm going to give them a go ahead in just a moment. I just want to make sure these boxes are cut correctly. We want to make sure that we can get the best view of the action possible. But no, fantastic breakdown, Frank. And again, it really is invaluable to have you here, mate, and to sit under your learning tree, both as a fan, as a caster, and I know the viewers are enjoying it. Last I checked, there were 250 people currently in the stream. By the way, I am restreaming on Twitch after a lot of peer pressure, and there's 2 people watching on Twitch. That's probably me and you, Frank. So shout out to you. But the YouTube feed do be cooking. Let me just double check these match boxes. I want them nice and neat for this. I want all the information to be readily available. I think we can do a little better there. I think we're nearly ready. Right, so before we start, fantastic breakdown, and it would be rude to not give the same respects to Kurt that we gave to DKP. I did do some looking into the ancient scriptures and see if they spoke about the greatness of Kurt Spice, and you're right, he's a very experienced Steel Song player, but he's also very much known for being an Emerald Steel Diablo discard player. Played that throughout the majority of this particular LC3, and you can see that his greatness with this ink color was foretold. Here he is, Space Kurt. There we go. We can all bow down to the Lorcana elders. Thank you for speaking of the great legendary Kurt Spice. But with that, Mr. Karsten, our players are good to go. I'm going to go onto Discord and give them the go-ahead, although they may already be able to hear me, but I'm going to type it anyway just for ease. Let's go with a bunch of explanation points, because I'm excited, Mr. Karsten. Let me get the players back up. There we go.
Me too.
All right, so yep. I will continue to mess with these boxes a little bit. They're not the neatest, but you can see well enough, and the players should be off to a start. So my first question for you, Frank, if you are Kurt, what are you looking for here in your opening hand? Is there anything you're really hard mulliganing for?
So you definitely need to be able to get off with a quick and early lead. You want to curve out ideally with a Daisy on turn 1, then a Mr. Smee on turn 2, and then you can just drop a Singer on turn 3. On turn 4, empty your hand completely, a whole new world refill. That is kind of the dream, at least when you're on the play. I'm not sure who is actually going to play first. No. And in the meantime, DKP will just try to maybe play a Popsicle on turn 1. Gonna be important to have that out for the Tamatoas at some point later. Then ramp on turn 2, perhaps a Grammatala on turn 3. He won't really be able to contest the board much in the early turns, and then keep ramping. up to a sweeper. One interesting element might be that even though DKP is running, for Maui Half Shark as a true key card in his deck, this might be the matchup where he could even choose to ink it, because Kurt has, the Zeus, the world's greatest criminal mind, has such efficient answers that perhaps DKP may try to win the game with Manners and Sisus, and just use the Maui as ink, because if the opponent can just sing a song to deal with the card that you spend 6 ink on, that is quite a blowout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the elongated Zeus, as you said, going to be super important for answering these Maui Sharks. Maybe to the point where you hold them, because like the Sisu, at least, like, you don't want her questing, but she's a little more easily dealt with. Obviously doesn't have that evasive keyword, but their players are off. I'm not sure who's starting. We should find out very quickly. The player that goes first in Lorcana is meant to mulligan first, so that is the one sort of silver lining to go second. We know that play draw disparity is fairly real in this game, but if you are going second, you at least get to see how many cards your opponent chose to alter back into the deck. Maybe that helps influence your own alter.
Yeah, for sure. I see Kurt keeping a whole new world, so to me that likely indicates that he's going to be on the play.
Mm-hmm.
With actually an excellent curve. You have the Daisy, the Smee, Ariel into a whole new world. That is kind of the dream start that I mentioned. And remember that DKP does not have Brawl to stop Ariel on turn 3, so you can just get it out there safely. No need for Gastons or the like.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, well, DKP has the ramp that he needs. That's the most important thing to develop your inkwell, because you can just expect like on turns 4 or 5 a whole new world to come down, and then every card you still have in your hand, it's going to get discarded. So you gotta develop the board as much as you can early on.
Yeah, and if Kurt is going first as well, he might have an opportunity to... It does seem like DKP is going first, though. The point I was going to make would get a chance... Oh, no, this is just Mulligan. Would get a chance to Pete before the assumed turn 3, how far I'll go, after a turn 2 ramp. Might not be the line that he would take, but it's one thing to take into account. But, yeah, DKP starting us off. We are inking. We are playing Develop Your Brain. Look at the top 2 cards of the deck. You can choose one to go into your hand and one to the bottom. Okay, what do you think of DKP's opening here? I see a Tipo, a Sisu, a How Far I'll Go, a Mana, a B Prep. Not something you want early in against a whole new world, right?
No, not necessarily. Those B Preps and Sisus. Is there another Sisu? Yeah, it is unlikely that those will actually get played. But the important thing is that DKP has the ramp for the early turns.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon like here you can choose between Tipo or Sail. The benefit of playing Tipo is that you can then turn one of these expensive uninkables into a useful ink.
Mm-hmm.
You also get a character on the board, which at the moment is not going to do too much, but perhaps against a Smee with some damage, or a Lawrence later, the one who can do something. He does go for the Sail, trying to dig towards some relevant plays for the next turn.
Yeah,
which
inking
at this point
Tipo. Obviously, the Sail giving us the extra card is very good. Body doesn't really mean too much at this point in the game, I would say.
Yeah, and on the next turn you're going to play How Far I'll Go, certainly over a 2-cost ramp spell. So
there we see, Frank, the first example of Daisy Duck going on a quest, 2 lore. Top card of the deck was a Sail the Azure at Sea, and we mentioned before the match a lot of DKP's deck being those non-character cards. So Daisy may get a lot of free lore without having to give away a teddy bear. We're going to see an Ink of Mr. Smee and double 1-drop on turn 2, down with another Daisy and establishing that Cinderella. Do you prefer this over a turn 2 Smee, Frank?
It makes a lot of sense, because now you effectively put 3 lore on the board rather than just 2 lore.
Mm-hmm.
I think the inking decision was close, because rather than inking Mr. Smee, you could have also have inked the Queen, because you currently don't really have a good way of putting the queen to any use. But perhaps if you're afraid that Ariel gets hit by something like Let It Go, then you at least retain the queen as a singer for A Whole New World later. So there's already tensions on turn 2, what to ink. You have to think about all the different lines or what might happen over the next few turns. But I definitely like adding as much lore to the board as possible. That is the role that Kurt has to take in this game.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We saw DKP ink a Porpsicle, played the How Far I'll Go. I believe we took the Let It Go. I think Maui was the top deck for the turn. We see another miss off the Daisy Duck, triggering a McDuck mana at the top, so that's going to go to the bottom. And then we do get the Maui Half Shark, so one out of 3 ain't bad. DKP with a very top-end heavy hand, but he does have that Maui Hero to All, who I expect is going to come down on this turn. We're currently sitting at 5 ink, so we can't go up to a B prep turn even if we wanted to. But this Maui is going to be really good to help us try and combat the board a little bit. Down comes Ariel, who to look at the top 4 cards of the deck. We choose a song to go in our hand, and the rest go to the bottom. But also more important, well, as equally important, she has that Singer 5, meaning she is a perfect singer for A Whole New World. And as Frank mentioned, no brawls in this deck from DKP to keep Kurt off of that.
Yeah, the Let Storm Rage On that he finds here, not going to be particularly relevant at this point, but I mean, you can always, this is like one of the sweet parts of Ember Steel, play it on one of your own characters and then heal with Rapunzel. That is a line that we might see at some point later in the game. For now, questing makes the most sense. I reckon, even if you playing the storm. So, well, there you see
there you go,
the Rapunzel.
So please tell us, Frank, why would Kurt storm his own Daisy?
Well, you want to get the card out of your hand and turn it into something useful. So next turn you're planning to sing A Whole New World, most likely, before the Be Prepared comes down. But you may as well try to find some additional things you can play along with the Pete beforehand. Let the Storm Rage On helps you dig for that. And this way you also set up for potentially Rapunzel value later. Could have even happened next turn, but now not so much anymore.
We're in an interesting situation now here, Frank, because DKP has 7 ink, could ink to 8 next turn, and could potentially have played this Sisu, except Kurt Spice does have this Whole New World, and Ariel, who is dry and ready to sing it. Obviously, Kurt doesn't know the opponent's hand. Everything you see in the blue bar, if you're new to Bixaborn Connect, only we can see that, and obviously they can see their own cards, but it is not seeable to the opponent. We are going to see Pete and Cinderella both being played, and we're going to go on a quest with Daisy. Makes sense to sequence it this way, because if you're going to sing A Whole New World, even if Daisy does give them a card, then they're just going to throw that card away. And now Kurt is going to have Ariel sing the classics, A Whole New World. Both players discard their hand and draw 7. DKP losing 2 big Sisus, which you got to think he would have liked to have slammed down on this following turn. There are 2 more in the deck. Do we find any? We do not. We have a Shark.
A Whole New World.
There you go, my man. My man.
Let's spin the wheel, as we say. That's a reference to the Magic card Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
That effectively has the same effect. Now, by playing it this way, Kurt is indeed exposed to a big Sisu. Though the Pete gives him a turn respite from Be Prepared. At the moment, he is pretty far ahead. And here you actually see also why he already played or sang Let the Storm Rage On with Cinderella on the previous turn, because now the Cinderella can sing something else, perhaps even the world's greatest criminal Mind, if he wants to. Whereas if he had waited to sing with Cinderella until this turn, Let the Storm Rage On, it couldn't sing anything else. So actually, great foresight by Kurt there in how he sequenced the previous turn.
And we are going to see it. Another favourite of mine, the world's greatest criminal mind, getting rid of that Maui immediately by exerting our Cinderella, taking advantage of that Singer 3. And seems like we're just questing out. DKP... Yeah, we have passed. He's drawn, yeah. Found another Maui.
The big Sisu would have been such a blowout here, but yeah, it's not in the hand anymore. Two indeed in the discard after a whole new world. That's sometimes how it goes.
How it goes, yeah. Some unfortunate sequencing that seeing those Sisus too early.
Yeah, and Kurt is suddenly far ahead, especially when he also has another Pete on the next turn to stop Be Prepared for another turn. I reckon that Kurt may not be immediately interested in singing a whole new world on the next turn, because he can be fairly certain that there's no big Sisu in DKP's hand. Otherwise, he would have almost certainly played it. And you don't want to give DKP like 7 more draws
to find it.
At it. Like there's you don't need to play a whole new world right away as soon as you can. And of course, the Maui can challenge something, but still, Kurt is questing for so much. This could easily be a 2-turn lore clock for Kurt at this point, and DKP is in a really tough spot here.
Yeah, not to mention there's a couple of nice cards, like the Along Came Zeus is a nice card for Kurt to have in case the Maui Shark comes down. We see the Maui is going to take out that aerial, and we're going to pop the Porpsicle on board to clean up that damage. It makes sense. You want to try and get some more longevity out of this Maui, as opposed to just maybe Pete could have come in and taken it out, or just a strength or something like that, or even just a storm and a challenge with a Cinderella. The Maui offers a lot to sort of stabilize this board, so DKP prioritizing wanting to keep it healthy. And yeah, DKP did not draw the best cards out of that whole new world. Lost 1 B Prep and 2 Sisus into some okay cards, like some more stuff that we can dig and ramp with, but nothing to respond to this just plethora of characters that Kurt has been able to establish with more in hand. A little look through the discard. We even saw him ink that All Is Found. I'm still waiting to see this All Is Found actually played, Frank. I'm sure it will happen one day. I know Colour is Law. Right. Shout out to Colour, who's furious because it was a Chase Enchanted and then DKP won a tournament with it and the price has gone up. She was fuming.
It is a sweet card, but I don't think DKP is gonna have the time to play it, even if he had it. Also, Pete wouldn't even allow him to play it in the first place.
There you go.
In Kurt's spot, there are a couple of
This
is the danger of not playing a lot of characters in the deck.
Daisy eating. Another Enchanted All Is Found at the bottom of the deck. We're now at 10 lore. Let the Storm Rage On, going to be sung by one of our Cinderellas. That's 2 damage on the Maui and draw a card. Find another Storm.
Yeah. Yeah, and now that Popsicle Heal is pretty useful, because otherwise this Let the Storm Rage On would have been able to take out the Maui. Not gonna happen now. So when you're in this spot as Kurt, you mainly you have to recognize, okay, I'm pretty far ahead. How can I lose? And that's mainly going to be on Be Prepared and the big Sisu. So if you look at your hand, Pete can take out the Be Prepared for a turn. The big Sisu, as we kind of reasoned, DKP probably doesn't have it in hand, though, he might always be able to draw it. You still want to develop some characters, and he's going for the Pete and the Queen, setting up the potential for shifting the Queen on the next turn, and just getting an overwhelming board where perhaps on the next turn he might use a whole new world, because he doesn't have another Pete for Be Prepared. Playing Smee instead of the Queen was also a reasonable consideration, especially if you want to have a little bit of protection against a potential big Sisu that DKP might have top decked, but otherwise it's probably better to have access to the shifter.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. We do see DKP finding another Maui, not just hero to all, hero to DKP. We've found a lot of these Mauis to help kind of like stem the bleeding a little bit, this time taking out that Daisy who was getting away with everything, gaslighting DKP. Like, no, you're not running any characters, DKP, I promise. Denying him pretty much everything, and we see DKP left with just a Pirate's Life, a develop, and a How Far I'll Go.
And the first lore on the board.
And the first lore on the board. Let's go, DKP. Obviously, those...
the game has shifted. Tipo aggro.
That's it. Tipo aggro all the way. Those Sapphire actions, pretty good for helping find more cards. But that is going to... it's going to... I was going to say ink into your ink. Chip into your ink usage. We have 10 ink at the moment. So we could still potentially find B prep, but there's pizza plenty.
Yeah. Well, not anymore for Kurt. If I were in Kurt's spot, I would expect that DKP is just having a bunch of actions in hand, because he hasn't been able to play any for 2 consecutive turns.
Yeah.
And while Kurt does not know DKP's hand, I would be pretty scared of a Be Prepared here, because that is easily within the range of the cards that DKP could have. You definitely have to play this turn with the potential for Be Prepared in mind. And perhaps that is why playing a whole new world this turn might be appealing. But then how do you sequence it exactly? If you go for a whole new world, probably makes sense to shift the Queen first. But you might not want to play Ariel beforehand as well, because then if you top deck a Pete with the whole new world, you don't have ink available to play that anymore. Also, yeah, there are not all that many relevant songs that Ariel can find. I guess Strength of a Raging Fire, which then Cinderella can sing on the Maui. But it may not be as essential. And I'd rather, also if you play Ariel before, then if there is a big Sisu, yeah, you've just thrown Ariel into it. I'd rather try to develop my board with as many 3+ strength characters as possible to mitigate the impact of the potential sweepers that DKP can have on the next turn.
Yeah, and if you've had that read that DKP is just holding actions, and you might suspect one of them is Be Prepared, again, you got to think more reason not to want to wheel here, because even if one is a Be Prepared, right, that still leaves DKP with not a lot of cards in hand. So I like being a little bit cautious here. Did that Pete? Yep, so the Queen questing, taking advantage of that ability, +4 strength to one character and -4 to another. Taking that Maui down to just a 2 strength character, meaning Pete can survive a challenge. Pete synergizing super nicely with the Queen here. 14 lore, we are super close to game. We move over to DKP, finds a McDuck Manor, not what he wants at this point in the game. He is free to play an action though, for the first time in a couple of turns.
Yeah, the Queen does that very well too. Kurt ultimately decided not to play a whole new world. Uh-oh.
Sorry to cut you off there, but that first top card there, Frank.
Take it away, Baker.
It makes me feel things. Do you think we're going to see it, Frank? Do you think? We do see 7 ink paid, and down it comes. Be prepared! There you go.
I was looking forward to this.
I'm glad to hear it. First one of the game.
Do you also know how to sing it in German? Because I believe it is
side by side.
Indeed, wow. You are now clearly the Be Prepared expert all over the world. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'm more known for that than anything else at this point in time. And hey, that's an honour. I will absolutely take it. But yeah, Be Prepared, resetting things, but not leaving DKP the ink to be able to do anything else. 1 for the develop, 7 for the B prep. Kurt Spy's going to play Ariel. Did she find that? The Zeus was already in hand, I believe. So
yeah.
That was either a miss, or sometimes you may choose to fail if you have intentions of playing a whole new world. 14 lore, we've also established an Ursula. We don't want to see a big Sisu here. How Far I'll Go finds a B prep, and I think that was another Pirate's Life. We're going to ink the Pirate's Life, keep the B prep in hand. DKP really just needs to keep Kurt off of this now.
Yeah, interestingly, that Kurt decided not to run out the whole new world on the 2 turns ago, but he has just developed another singer with Ariel, which he can use to refill if he wants to, because at the moment Kurt might be interested in developing his board a little bit more. Then again, DKP is not doing all that much to answer it. Nope. There we go again.
We're going to get an encore, Mr. Karsten. One more time. Be prepared. Putting both the Ursula and the Ariel in the discard. I don't hate this at all, especially with Kurt only having 3 cards in hand. Taking away that Singer as well. And 14 lore, you just need to keep him off of it as much as possible. DKP knows that there's 2 more big Sisu in the deck. There are big bodies, no brawls like we said, so really putting a lot of reliance on 2 more copies of Sisu, and I think 2 more B preps. We've seen 2 played. He may have inked 1 at one point with... no, Tipo was never played, I don't know. Was Tipo played? No, I don't think a Tipo was played.
I think it was Sail on turn 2.
Yes, so there should be 2 more in the deck.
Yep. And Kurt can always look at the discard to get those exact counts.
Another Grandma Tala coming down. Keeper of Ancient Stories. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. 1 goes into your hand. And down comes the McDuck Manor. Going to try and start to finally apply some pressure. Facing down this board of Cinderella Ballroom Sensation and Gaston the Baritone Bully. Zach Bivens staple. I know Zach Bivens has been finding a lot of success with this Gaston for a while. Obviously that 3 strength, keeping it out the range of Sisu and Brawl. The Brawl not relevant for this matchup, but pretty relevant for the Sisu. Like just kind of a... B-Prep, I think, is the only thing that can remove this readied Gaston in this deck.
Absolutely.
There are Let It Go. No, I tell a lie. There are Let It Go. I know at least one's been inked, though. And Let It Go on a Gaston can't feel like the highest of value.
You also saw DKP counting his deck.
3.
And that is something that can actually be quite relevant in this matchup. When ultimately, over the course of many, many turns, 4 a whole new worlds are played. And the Sapphire deck has drawn a bunch of additional cards with all their actions, their grandmas, daisy triggers, whatnot. You might actually run out of cards and lose that way. This is a viable win condition that DKP definitely has to keep in mind, and Kurt as well. Actually, kind of if you're ever in this spot as like the Ember Steel player, and you want to like figure out what the deck size is of the opponent without making it too obvious that is suddenly going to be your game plan, because if you pick up their deck and count it, obviously the opponent will think, oh, I have to make sure that I don't deck out.
Yeah.
You can just count, or you can look through their graveyard and actually just count their graveyard, and then do 60 minus graveyard size, minus cards in hand, minus cards on the board, and you will have determined the opponent's deck size without them potentially realizing. That's kind of a neat trick. More difficult to do in these webcam games, to be fair, but
something to bear in mind for sure.
To highlight. Yeah.
We are going to see the Queen comes down, and Gaston is going to put that baritone bully voice to work and sing a whole... How would Gaston sing it? A whole new world. I am more beautiful than you. Look at my huge muscles. And words to that effect. But we're throwing... we see a proxy, Frank Karsten. And here is DKP showing it up close. I'm guessing that's a Tamatoa. But I imagine I imagine this was drawn by DKP's... young nephew or something.
It is beautiful. I can see the artistic talent. And actually before the match we said that DKP had changed 1 card from his Meisterschaft deck.
I wasn't sure if he was being serious.
Tamatoa. It must be this one.
It must be. I wasn't sure if he was just trolling, to be honest. But we did see there is a Tamatoa there. We find one of those big Sisus, but down comes the P. And I was wrong before. There are 3 B preps gone, Frank. 2 played and 1 was discarded with the first whole new world. So 1 more in the deck, we think, because I don't think there's been a point where one's got into the inkwell courtesy of how far I go. He did see 1 off of it, but I'm pretty sure he took it. Cinderella going to take us to 16. And with that P, this is looking pretty good. The Sisu can clear up the Cinderella, and that is it, Frank.
Yep. And this is also Kurt showing off that he recognizes the threat of that Sisu even questing with the Cinderella, just making sure that it is not going to get value and sweep his board. Now, if DKP does nothing, Kurt has, well, should we say story on board? Is that how we call it? Basically, Kurt could quest to 20 on the next turn. But of course,
Spessies enjoy calling it that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Spessy.
So of course, DKP can stop this by challenging, as well as removing some characters, even the pirate's life to stay alive.
Yeah,
But
100%.
I do wonder about the deck size, especially with that whole new world still in Kurt's hand. It could easily come up. Then again, with DKP just putting that popsicle out there without a worry in the world, I have to reckon that he still has plenty of cards remaining. Now, what do you do here as DKP? Because you have to expect that Kurt is just going to keep like adding characters to the board over the next few turns.
Mm-hmm.
You will have to contest them. But with Kurt at 15, like it's very close to 20. Like basically every character turns into just a +1, +2 lore, even after they get challenged. So you.
Grandmatada going to trade with the Gaston, get a little bit of pressure off. Yeah, having a count, as Frank's alluding to, the deck count very relevant in this match where we've seen 2 whole new worlds played or sang so far. Avatar likely taking the Cinderella, I would imagine. Yeah, he's put 1 damage on, so it seems that that's the case. Kurt going to refresh himself of his own discard, looking for what options he's still got left in the deck. Removal. There's a McDuck mana still sitting here ticking away, and another one in DKP's hand. You gotta think he's putting a lot of focus on these manas to like give him his chance to win this game. Like he's gonna need them to tick away for a few turns. Pirate's Life gonna help, of course, to buy him an extra turn or so. We haven't played anything this turn yet either, DKP. It's just a couple of challenges. We're looking to turn a bunch of stuff sideways now. Exerting 6 to play. The Tamatoa is what I think DKP's eyeing up. Yep. Or no. He's making a show of it. He's a bit of a showman, is DKP. I do appreciate it. And by the way, we've got 663 people in the chat. That is an all-time record for my channel. I'm super, super grateful. Thank you so much for the support. If you are enjoying the stream, please do me a favor and just hit the like button. It costs nothing, but it really does help the channel. So if you're enjoying the stream, please click like. But so grateful to everyone that's come out. There's lots more Lorcana later on today. The legendary JDZ quest will be joined by my current co-host Frank Karsten for a great matchup, Spessy versus Zan Zayed. It's going to be a great day for Lorcana.
Absolutely. And over here, I think DKP still had give or take 15-ish cards left in his deck, which is probably enough to work with. That's also why he's digging for potential key cards like Maui Half Shark, though he cannot keep doing it forever. He will have to also present a clock in the meantime, because he cannot give Kurt forever to develop his board and get up to 20. So maybe DKP might plan to win the game over the course of 3 turns or so, especially with all those McDuck manners. And yeah, he will have to contest what Kurt is doing. Of course, with Let It Go and Sisu on the next turn, he has a bunch of removal. That Tamatoa can even sing Pirate's Life to reduce Kurt's lore by 2. So it's still in a fairly safe spot for DKP. Now here,
do you, as Kurt, take a moment to try and balance this board at all, or do you just keep questing here and just trying to push the line? Is there a world where you try and you can't deal with a mana this turn unless you're willing to Zeus it Like, you can obviously give Pete an extra 4 strength, but that's not enough, and the Queen would have to quest to do that, so it would have to be that and Zeus. So I can't think that's a great use of resources. I would imagine you already want to prioritize your turns here into just establishing the board. Just a quick look at the back of DKP's head there, just giving us a little insight to what goes on inside the head of a genius. And we saw a bunch of a thick head of hair. Good for you.
Well, in general, you need a game plan before making any plays, and this game plan could be, decking the opponent with a whole new world. In that case, you would not really worry about questing to 20 and just focus on controlling the board.
Sure.
Or you can try to focus on getting to 20, at which point you certainly would like to be questing. You can use Zeus to take out, say, a Tamatoa to keep the board somewhat clear. It seems difficult, I think, to go after the manners. Not impossible if you expect that DKP is planning to play Be Prepared on the next turn. In that case, you would like to go after the manners. But when you're so close to 20, questing and using the lore on your characters to get as close to victory as possible seems to be the most appealing way.
I agree. We are going to use that Zeus to get rid of one of the Tamatoas. And I do love that DKP is leaving us with the hand-drawn one on the board. Like, no, we don't need this official Lorcana card. Let's keep cooking with this drawn artwork, which I gotta respect the showmanship for. There is the whole new world, which I'll tell Frank, I bet you're excited to hopefully get your hands on one of those at the World Championship, the alt art, a thing of absolute beauty, something the two players that we're watching today will also be hopefully playing for at the World Championships. They both have their invite, DKP giving Kurt a little look at his discard. This is what you took from me. And here are Kurt's 7 cards. See, a Storm, a P is pretty nice.
I expect it will be Shining, Shimmering, and Splendid.
With any luck, Frank. With any luck.
So ultimately just refilling the hands here rather than just questing with the Queen. Now, that strength can take out a Grammatala if Pete wants to sing that, and that doesn't seem.
Have we got enough? Have we used all our ink this turn? We played a Pete.
Yeah, but you also have to quest to 20.
Oh, hold on. Oh, I think Zeus was played with ink because the Queen sang a whole new world, so that would be 4, 5, 6, 7 for the Lawrence that was played this turn. So yeah, there was a hard play of Along Came Zeus, so we can't play anything else this turn. I was wondering if there was a world where we had enough ink to play down a couple more characters and then sing the strength and get rid of the Tamata, but we don't have enough ink for that right now. But DKP, not with a lot to actually respond to this. We got a couple of visions, 3 in fact, so we can dig, but that last copy of B Prep, which I'm almost certain is still in the deck. We know 3 are gone, 2 were played, 1 was discarded with a whole new world. Maybe there was another one that was inked with a How Far I'll Go, or maybe another one that was discarded that I missed, but I think there's one more in the deck. 3 big Sisus down already. Not that Sisu answers anything on Kurt's board.
Now, DKP still had a healthy amount of cards in his deck, though if he would decide to play all those visions this turn, his deck might get depleted quite rapidly. That is something he will still have to keep in mind. Interestingly, though, if it ever comes to it, if you have a location on the board with 0 cards in your deck, it'll go ready, set, draw, and you will get the lore from the location before drawing for the turn. It's something that might actually come up later this game.
It actually has. In the LC3, Frank, it came up when LD, Lorcana deck lists, took on the European champion Domingo, who was playing a mill deck, managed to get LD down to 0 cards, but he had 18 lore and a McDuck Manor on the board, so he was able to win the game before he lost it. So really great that you bring that up, because it is quite relevant. It happened recently.
Alright, DKP chooses the Pirate's Life over the Be Prepared, which means he's gonna be racing. he is gonna like just try to win the game and play it right now before potential Pete can come down on the next turn. Before Kurt has a chance to actually get to 20 himself. It like if Kurt doesn't do anything on the next turn, DKP can like he has 5 lore on board, can just play five actions, or just a pirate's life and a small number of actions to win the game. Of course, Pete is going to put a stop to that, but this is how quickly DKP's build of the Ruby Sapphire deck can turn the corner.
100%, and like I alluded to, this mana just has been ticking away since it hit the board, so certainly invaluable in helping DKP actually just stay in this match. But as you mentioned, Frank, we do have a Pete in hand, which is going to be pretty big. It's not going to allow any action, so no passive lore gain from the Maui Half Shark secondary ability. Yeah, like this is what you want. You want an extra Pete at this point in the game. They're super valuable early to like turn off the sails or the how far it goes, the B preps. But even at this late point in the game, it's good to still have copies of this. It can be really bad if you see them all early. And a plethora of strong cards from Pete. From Kurt. I call him Pete because Space Pete, the Space Kurt that we showed earlier. The ancient scriptures, our respects. But yeah, what a game this has been already. Like Kurt going first, putting on a great showing with Steel Song, having the pieces he needs, getting his singers, getting that whole new world early, having the removal, and DKP was sitting at 0 lore for a long while, but has clawed his way back, as experienced as he is. I'm not surprised at all. He's going to be familiar with this matchup. Can Kurt get an extra 6 lore and go over the line? This Lawrence can quest this turn, if it so chooses, can go to 16.
Yeah, and then potentially if you go Ariel, Ursula, Pete, right after inking, say, the Queen, along with shifting onto Ariel on the next turn, you would be up to 20 exactly. Because at this point, it's all about turns, the lore clock. Because DKP will very likely be able to win within 2 turns, kind of regardless of what happens. If DKP has a halfway decent hand with his board state, he will be able to get to 20 across 2 turns. So Kurt has to try to set it up in a way so that he can win on the next turn, while making sure to disrupt DKP's potential answers to that. Pete will surely be important with that. And yeah, that is kind of the natural line that I see. Pete, Ursula, Ariel, the next turn shift Ariel. That's exactly 20 if Lawrence also quests this turn. And due to Pete, a Pirate's Life is not going to prevent that. And also there's not going to be lore gain from the Maui. You could try to play defense by, playing all these removal actions, playing a couple of characters, then maybe combining strength and let the Storm Rage on to take out a Maui for a turn. But if you go for that approach, you're not winning on the next turn, whereas it is still fairly likely that DKP can cobble together 20 lore across 2 turns.
Yeah, an interesting point as well in the chat made by Moyen, another player who is still to play against Artabax, not today, but that's coming up. But said it could be interesting. You can hybrid between the 2 sort of strategies, right? Like continue to put the pressure on of questing while finding the time to mill. We are going to see the Pete come down and the Queen. So not the line that you just walked us through, Frank. Trying something else out. Is this Lawrence going to quest this turn? I would imagine. Can of course answer this Tamatoa, but we need that. We need the lore.
So the main benefit of doing this is that you are not as vulnerable to a big Sisu, because with my line, if you deploy Ariel and Ursula, then you are very vulnerable to a big Sisu. But at this point, I'm not sure how Kurt is going to get to 20 lore on the next turn, because he can only get to 19 now, and it will be very difficult, I reckon, to win the game at this point.
Yeah, there are no there's no passive look. There's no uninteractable lore gain in this deck. There's nothing that, like, as you said, if we'd have played the aerial, we could have threatened a shift. The Floodborn not even with us anymore. So, yeah, Kurt is going to need at least one more turn, even if all these characters survive. We see a Porpsicle is going to be played. Oh, yeah, brought back by the first Tamatoa that was played. Then play the Porpsicle. The Tamatoa is going to heal 2 damage by removing it. There are 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 6 cards left in the deck, Mr. Karsten. 6 cards left.
More than enough.
Yeah. Just gonna keep drawing them. We find another All Is Found.
Yeah, has not really been particularly impressive so far.
No.
Yeah, DKP is still developing his board.
It's a beautiful ink token. We'll give it that. It's a beautiful ink token. We do find my favourite 7-cost song in the game. Unfortunately, Pete, the game's referee, says no actions into the start of my next turn. I refuse to be prepared. So that won't be happening even if DKP wanted to, although he has a big board himself. So you got to think he wouldn't do that unless he absolutely had to. But we just established he doesn't have to because Kurt can only go to 19 next turn. Moving everything into the McDuck Manor, they're going to have to build an extra wing for these giant crabs, a half shark and a grandma. One more audience. That's a reality show I want to see, Frank. That's a reality TV show I want to see.
That will be quite something indeed.
The Big Brother house.
the Be Prepared gives DKP some protection if Kurt here would take out nearly his entire board with removal spells. Then he can just sweep and get an additional turn. Because yeah, what I was saying about the lore clock, it's all about turns, and here Kurt is not able to get to 20. He also doesn't have any instant lore gain in his deck. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he will now have to answer what DKP is doing. Surely you have to take out the Maui Half Shark because DKP is bound to have so many actions in hand, and then yeah, you may likely also need something else. Maybe do a double check on how many Pirates Life have been played or are visible. Not a whole lot I can see in the discard, but yeah, if you're in Kurt's spot here, it's tough, and yeah, you will just have to hope and pray that DKP is not holding a bunch of Pirates' Lives.
Oh, the final card off of that aerial is a song, that World's Greatest Criminal Mind, which can only remove this Maui as it stands. Of course, the Queen can quest and give something else 4 strength extra, so that then the World's Greatest Criminal Mind can take that out. But yeah, with this Be Prepared like in hand and no Pete's, is DKP going to cross the line here? There are 3 copies of A Whole New World gone. There is 1 more in the deck.
So the way that you can beat the Be Prepared is you have to clear the board somehow. You have to take out the Maui. You have to challenge or take out the Tamatoa, and then perhaps even challenge down the MacDuck Manor. If you do that, you're not going to be able to do a lot of questing yourself, but so be it. You will also probably need an additional character on the board for the strength to work. It's a puzzle, and I love it. But Kurt is also like lining up all those cards for that puzzle. The question is, can you afford to challenge the MacDuck Manor? Because then, sure, the Queen can quest and give a bonus to something else, but then both Pete and Lawrence will have to challenge the Manor. You can then... do you have enough ink to then play Daisy and just hard play both removal spells? Because I don't think Kurt has inked this turn yet, so in that case...
no, not yet.
He would be short, so he cannot play Daisy and play Strength and play World's Greatest Criminal Mind, which means that one has to be sung, which means that you cannot actually challenge down the Manor. So then you have to be dealing with the Tamatoa with the Manor. and then I don't see how you're beating Be Prepared, but when you're in a tough spot and there are certain cards like Be Prepared that you just cannot beat no matter what you do, you just have to assume that the opponent doesn't have it, that it's on the bottom of the deck, or that it was inked with How Far I'll Go at some point. I'm not sure if there is still a Whole New World remaining in the deck.
We think there's one. We think there's one, which was what I
thought. A viable game plan.
Yeah, from our reading of the game, and I believe one more big Sisu in DKP's deck. That's another thing the chat are conversing. We know that is the last B prep. The one in DKP's hand, that's the last one. 2 Sisu were discarded right at the beginning of the game. I believe one was then played and then removed with something. So I think there's one more in the deck, but again, there could have been a moment where DKP's pretty quick. He makes his decisions very quick, so maybe one ended up in the inkwell from How Far I'll Go. But yeah, DKP's put a lot of pressure on all of a sudden. Like, this was looking really strongly in Kurt's favor, and he still could cross the line, but DKP's done a super good job at playing to his outs and putting himself in the best position to win the game.
Yeah, for sure. Also, at some point, Kurt was kind of priced into art playing A Whole New World, which is something you never really like to do. I prefer to sing it, and that's the little tempo boost that DKP gains to claw back into the game.
Mm-hmm. Such a shame that Ariel didn't find that last Whole New World. You got to think Kurt's gutted that. Didn't find that. We're going to play Storm, put 2 damage on a Tamatoa. We find an Aerial. Okay. We have an Inkjet, right? So we can ink, we can play this Aerial, and we can hopefully find a Whole New World off of these top 4 cards, and then that would do it. There it is! The last card, Mr. Karsten! We find it! A whole new game because I've won game 1. Oh, what a game, Frank!
That was incredible, and also very well played by Kurt here.
Yes,
because we were going through the options of what can he do in this spot in order to potentially still win, and we're working on challenging stuff, but then DKP would probably still win across 2 turns with lore, whereas you're very unlikely to be able to get to 20 yourself. And then you have to look for alternative options. And I think at the point where Kurt played Let the Storm Rage on, rather than a more proper removal spell the World's Greatest Criminal Mind or the Strength, he knew that, okay, the only way I'm going to win this game is if I find that additional Whole New World. Mm-hmm. And it indeed gave him the exact additional card that he needed and got there. So that's an awesome example of playing to your outs. Mm-hmm. Not just making use of the cards you have in front of you, but having an actual overall game plan and a vision for how you can actually win this game. Masterfully executed by Kurt there.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Got to give him his dues. Played really well. And again, as we've already said, DKP, was in such a tough position, but put himself in the best position to still be able to win the game. And it all came down to that Whole New World off the top of the top. Well, not even off the top. We dig deep. We played 2 aerials that turn. We had an 8-card dig to find it. Was there. So Kurt Spice is up 1-0 in this match. So game 1 going to Kurt. We're going to game 2 now. We've got to assume DKP is going to be going next. Again, just before the players start, a huge shout out to everybody in the chat. 700 players in the chat right now, Frank Karsten. That is an incredible number, the most I've ever had in one of my live streams at once. So I'm super, super grateful. A shout out to Pavel, the entire Pixelborn Connect team. I'm also incredibly rude because I haven't given a shout out to Ellie, who is our judge today. I do believe it's Ellie. Yes, it is Ellie. Is your judge for today, keeping an eye on the action. I apologize, Ellie, for not giving you a shout out sooner, but we did get there. A huge shout out to you, and just to everyone that's watching and making the LC3 an incredible experience. Please do hit the like button if you're enjoying the show. But we go into game 2, Mr. Karsten. From the opening hand for Kurt pre-alter, we've got an Aerial, we've got a Gaston. We know there are no Brawls in DKP's deck, so the Gaston doesn't feel as necessary, I would say. That's Smee looking like a potential turn 2. What do you think of this opening?
So for the opening hands, it was even like blink and you missed it. I believe DKP just mulliganed all 7. He surely didn't have a ramp, so then he just throws everything back in order to find and maximize his chances of getting that sale or Tipo. Kurt, in the meantime, keeping Ariel and Smee, because that's your perfect 2 and 3. Favoring Ariel over Gaston, indeed, because DKP's list does not run any Brawl. And then it is fine and safe to toss all the remaining cards in order to dig deep for a 1-drop and just maximize the chances of having something to play on turn 1, which he indeed does find in the form of both Daisy and Cinderella. But generally speaking, Daisy is gonna be preferable in this matchup, and also when she's uninkable, you're kind of priced into playing her, whereas Cinderella can be turned into ink.
And we see the staple ink. All is found. The most beautiful ink token in the game, Mr. Karsten, is for turn 1 ink for a Porpsicle. Pretty standard from DKP. Kurt is going to ink one of those Forum Sensation Cinderella. And this Daisy Duck, Frank, in game 1 got away with absolutely everything. There are more non-character cards in DKP's deck than there are characters, so Daisy last game getting away with an awful lot. Will the same be true now? You got to think Kurt hopes so. We're going to ink that Tamatoa happy as a clam, and we're going to sail the Azure at Sea. We're going to salute to Sailor, another Ruby Sapphire mastermind in the community. Bit of a staple card for him. And what is going to be our additional ink for the turn? Because that is the great thing about Sail. You draw and you can ink again. In goes a Let It Go.
Alright, so holding on to double MacDuck Manor, DKP may have plans over a bunch of turns. If Kurt would ever take the foot off the gas, then DKP now has a chance to deploy double MacDuck Manor. That Grammatala may also lead to interesting interactions coming up, especially against the Daisy, because if Grammatala would be exerted as Kurt goes into his 4th turn, then Daisy can challenge the Grammatala, deploy Rapunzel, and just draw 3 cards. So that's a sequence and an interaction that you already have to keep in mind when you have a deck with Grammatala, and how far I'll go when facing against an Amber deck.
Makes a lot of sense that the chat have just caught up to the whole new world off of the Aerial, and they're going absolutely insane. Frank, the chat loved that.
Yeah, and that was truly a game for the ages.
Yeah, 100%. Smee is going to be played. Pass it back over to DKP. Finds a Maui, which was super irrelevant in game 1, even though DKP did lose. But Kurt had a super strong start. These Mauis really helped to stem the bleeding. Grandma Tala's going to tell a story of 2 copies of A Pirate's Life. Not much of a decision there for DKP. And most likely just going to pass back over.
Yeah, still fine ink to add to the hand.
Sure. Did Daisy hit? Meantime, I missed. I missed if Daisy got a hit that time.
Honestly, when I have a whole new world in hand, I don't really care all that much. Take that card. It's gonna be discarded soon anyway. Yeah. It's all fine.
No, you're not wrong at all. Into the Inkwell goes World's Greatest. Maybe. Yeah. Took a moment to reconsider. And here she is, Ariel, the spectacular singer herself. And we find a Zeus. Couple of Pete's going to the bottom of the deck there, though, Frank. How relevant do you think that is?
We saw Pete doing a lot of work in the previous game, taking out the possibility of DKP to play actions for multiple consecutive turns. And yeah, knowing that those Pete's are not going to be available in the mid game can definitely matter, because suddenly Be Prepared becomes much more threatening. Now, here Kurt will have to think about, okay, DKP is going into a turn with 5 ink. what is the most likely thing that's going to happen? Well, it's Maui. That's like the main rush 5-drop in DKP's deck. Do I want to be exerting my characters straight into the Maui? And in fact, he chooses not to. He just keeps them ready, playing around the threat of that rush character. And I think with the way that DKP's hand is shaped up, that is a wise decision.
Yeah, not giving free value to this Maui. Sometimes, yeah, even if you can make the opponent play it like off curve, then in my experience that can certainly be beneficial. We've got a Zeus, a Daisy, a Wheel, Cinderella, and Smee. DKP fiddling with how far I'll go.
Yeah, he will. Like the DKP doesn't know about the whole new world, I believe. So before exerting that Grammatala to sing how far I'll go, yeah, you do have to keep in mind the potential of a Rapunzel on the Daisy.
Sure.
Then again, if you do expect that there may be a whole new world on the next turn, yeah, you just want to certainly play or sing how far I'll go to develop your inkwell. You know, to maximize your ink expenditure this turn, you would sing how far I'll go and then play the Maui, just leave it there on the board. But
establish it.
Looks like DKP is he must be really considering that potential for a Rapunzel via the Daisy and does not want to exert his Grammatala to give Kurt that potential value. Likely DKP is planning to just play Be Prepared on the next turn, and then there's not even a point in having Maui on the board. So that must be what he is considering.
Yeah, game one it took DKP quite a while to like really steady the board, but Kurt had got a lot of lore by that point anyway. Whereas Kurt's currently sitting at 4. That Daisy quests a card denied off the top of the deck once again. But yeah, I think that's a really good point that you bring up, Frank, of like denying the Rapunzel value and saying, no, if you're going to draw cards, then we're going to draw cards.
Yep. And I mean, Kurt doesn't have Rapunzel, but DKP doesn't know that. Now, this looks to be an appealing turn to come out with a whole new world because, DKP is going into 7 ink on the next turn. If you just play out a bunch of characters and pass, then you're likely left with nothing. Better to just sing while you still can, while that Ariel is still in play. And now, Kurt is very far ahead, and DKP pretty much needs to find Be Prepared.
I was just saying, like, we really need it into this board. There is no Pete blocking it, but 7 cards deep, and we miss. It does need to be this card of the top of the deck. There is Develop Your Brain, but that would not lead us with enough ink to play the 7 cost Be Prepared, not if we need to play Develop Your Brain. So, quite a tragic miss there for DKP not finding it. There's a lot of bodies on board. Kurt just established another Daisy, a Smee, and a Cinderella in addition to what we've already got. This Sisu is in hand, but we're not at that ink threshold yet. That would have helped. You've got to think it's Maui, right? You got to think we've got to control this a little bit. We can't just let Kurt quest. I mean, the Tala takes out one thing. I would assume the Aerial being the most valuable thing on the board. But then that's still questing for 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 to 15. That's. I would take the Maui, but DKP's a pro with this. He will show us what must be done.
Now, that Ariel may be indeed the strongest character on the board at the moment, but looking at DKP's hand, like he's almost surely going to play the big Sisu on the next turn, which means that that Ariel is not as threatening because it will just get swept up.
You're right.
Regardless.
Yeah, you're right. Good point.
Still, you want to take out the possibility of singing. In any case, DKP is firmly in the control role here. He has to do whatever he can to deny Kurt the board state the possibility to quest for lore as much as he can. Speaking of the whole new world on the previous turn, I think it's great timing to play that right the turn before the red blue deck hits 7 ink, because they've spent a lot of time digging with Tala, with card draw actions for potentially that be prepared, and then right after they have had so many turns to find it, you change the whole world. Generally speaking, when there's like a 4 off in a 60 card deck, there's like about like a 40% chance to find one copy in 7 cards.
Okay.
So it means that if you sing the wheel here, you're a favorite to not face Be Prepared on the next turn.
So
and
Grandma
DKP did not have it.
So Grandma Tala traded with
Smee.
It was the Smee. Okay, yeah, and now the Maui's taking out the date. Yeah. Sorry, I was waiting for him to catch up with the board state there, so I was wondering if I was wrong, but yeah. So the Grandma Tala are able to trade with the Smee, the Maui going into the Daisy, and I think popping a Porpsicle to remove that 1 damage, I believe was our sequence there. And we do have this Sisu available for the next turn, which will get rid of everything except the Smee. So that's pretty good. Kurt's sitting here with quite a wide grip, a couple of copies of Whole New World. We're going to start off with a Daisy, and there's another miss trigger, Mr. Karsten. Was that a B-Prep? Thank you for that reshow there. I think that was a B-Prep.
That's actually... That's big.
That's very big.
Kurt was like Kurt pretty much knows that DKP doesn't have Be Prepared in hand. He would have played it for sure, but he will be scared of a big Sisu on the next turn. If you see that Be Prepared go on the bottom, it might be a little safer even to sing a Whole New World, because there's just 1 fewer Be Prepared in the deck now to draw.
Yeah, two kind of out of action. 1 was discarded, I believe, from the Whole New World that was played, and now we know 1's at the bottom of the deck. We're going to see World's Greatest to get rid of that Maui. Aerial. Oh, I think we're singing it. I think we're singing another Whole New World. Yeah, we are. We're just continuing to spin that wheel. The what was it? The Wheel of Fortune? Was that the magic? The full name of the magic card? Yeah. I've gotten used. I never played Magic, but. Chapter 1 of Lorcana, everyone was like, this is wheel, this is wheel, this is wheel. So it's become second nature, even though I never played the card once. But a fresh 7 cards. What do we get?
Okay, well, there's no Pete, so Be Prepared next turn is still a threat, as is the big Sisu. Also didn't find... Oh, you do have a big Queen that you can shift onto it to, alleviate the impact of a big Sisu. I think that the very first thought when I see this hand is just shift the big Queen, play Lawrence. Sure, you're gonna be weak to Be Prepared, but 2 have already been gone, and you will not be particularly weak to the big Sisu. And you still want... I mean, you could even take it even slower, like not add as many characters to the board, saying... Wow, I don't want to lose too much to a potential Be Prepared, which is still possible.
And at least if it's Be Prepared,
those are the considerations.
You're not establishing a body as well. I mean, like, DKP still at 0 lore, but, the great thing about Sisu is not only are you clearing a lot of the board, but you're sticking a quest for 3 character, so a little bit faster, I would say, despite Be Prepared being our big red button of choice.
Yeah, the problem is if you don't play anything else and there is instead the Sisu, then you're left with just a Smee, and DKP has clawed back the initiative all of a sudden. So I think it makes sense to add something more.
We do see that shift that you wanted, Frank. That shift pay 2 to go on to the 1-drop Queen. Was only played this turn, so still can't quest or anything, but you can indeed play a character and then shift onto it in the same turn if you've got the cards and the ink. Down comes that big Sisu, so we're down with the Aerial. Yeah, we're down with the Daisy. I don't know why I'm doing down with the Sickness, but that's what we do. And the Cinderella also off the board. So just the Queen and the Smee sticking around.
Yep. Also, last turn, the play I mentioned of Lawrence and Queen was not possible with the amount of ink that Kurt had. So I think he managed and balanced it well.
The chat saying is DKP regretting the lack of super goof for this particular match. You got to think that Smee would have been looking pretty tasty right about then.
Yeah, Super Go is one of the best answers to Smee for sure, and would have helped him quite a bit. But at this point, I'm sure that he's also very happy with those big Sisus.
Yeah.
I think they will also excel in this matchup, where with all those whole new rules flying around and so many characters getting added at the same time, having a reset button is invaluable.
Yeah, DKP never playing the Sisus, but well, he may have played them occasionally, but his general DK Shark sort of build that he's been perfecting for a while has never been playing these Sisus, just leaning into the Sharks and the Tamatoas. We are going to see a World's Greatest Criminal Mind to get rid of that Sisu. Does have the 5 strength that we're looking for with that song. Lawrence coming down, questing with Smee. We're at 14. There are no Pete's. Off the top.
Oh wow! I was just gonna say, Kurt knows that DKP does not have Be Prepared, because surely he would have played it on the previous turn.
Yeah.
And he was just adding characters to the boards to get around the second big Sisu, which was way more likely.
Yeah.
But that is a massive top deck.
Yeah.
A really, really massive top deck that will swing the tide of the game for sure.
But yeah, all the characters were safe to another Sisu. I think all of them were anyway. The Queen, the Smee, and I think the Lawrence was the other character. So yeah, that was a big red button off the top of the deck. It does happen, but Kurt not going to be too happy about that. And now DKB with card advantage for what feels like the first time this match.
Yeah, this is the point where he comes back.
Look at the top 5.
I bet it's absolutely not out of the woods yet.
He's absolutely not taking the all is found. That would be my... I'm about as sure as that as I have of anything. We do take the big Sisu, which of course, so good in this matchup. Like Kurt developed a nice board there of characters that survive it, but there are still a lot of characters in Kurt's deck that he would love to play, which are not safe from the Sisu. We find another Rapunzel up the top. Not great. This Aerial is maybe looking a little tempting at this point, as something that, like, the only thing in our hand that survives the Sisu. You probably established... Oh, no, she's 6 ink, isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, but I like it exactly for that reason. And then perhaps on the next turn you can sing or play Strength on one of your own characters.
Yeah, to Rapunzel.
Draw, say 2 cards with Rapunzel. That seems like a good way to go. Could even just, I think Ariel can even damage herself.
Yes, whenever you play a song, you can pay 2 ink to do 3 damage to a chosen character. So that's another way you could do it. Yeah, she could, like, if we can throw down a couple of bodies, sing Strength on an opposing character, and then do the 3 damage to ourselves with the Sonic Warrior's ability. The Tipo there just slipping out the hand. He's a very mischievous boy, is that Tipo. Yeah, this doesn't look bad for DKP, which may seem weird to say at 0 lore to 14. But judging by the game state and knowing that DKP has a lot of answers to a lot of the Steel Song deck, it could happen. We know that 2 Pete's are right at the bottom of Kurt's deck as well, which isn't great. We see the Maui Half Shark coming down, 6 cost Inkable, 7/5, quest for 1. Chi-Hu gives you the chance to return an action from your discard to your hand when you challenge a character, and of course we gain a lore for each lore played. That Tipo into the Inkwell. And Grandma Tala, maybe? Do we have the ink? Yeah, we do have the ink to play Tala. There you go. 2 very similar cards.
Maybe DKP was originally planning to go Maui and Manor, but then changed his mind. I do think it makes sense to play Grammatala in order to dig for effects that will help you stay alive, like spot removal spells, Let It Go, or Pirate's Life, because that 14 lore from Kurt is getting dangerously close to 20.
There's a
Pete, a
Pete.
big draw.
Yeah, not relevant judging by this hand, but again, Kurt doesn't know what DKP's got. And this, do you just play a bunch of characters here as much as you can? We're at 6 ink. Do you just ink and play Rapunzel Pete and just like try and push?
The thing with that play is that it gets you up to 19 and not 20 on the next
Yeah.
turn. Still perfectly viable, but
Doesn't close it.
Like So if you just go for deadline, do you then like quest with Ariel? Because she would just get challenged by Grammatala and Maui for value. You could also just leave your characters ready, but then you're also not getting to 20 on the next turn.
We're going to
Taking out Maui is
play
perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's a good play. I like that. And we're going to hold on to this Pete for a rainy day. Like, I imagine you want to play that on the turn where you do have the right math to then get to game the following turn and know that you don't need to worry about a B prep or anything like that. We are going to quest up to 16, so Kurt just 4 away from closing this out. Kurt was the winner of game 1, but game 1 looked very similar to this, with Kurt with a lot of lore and Din with not a lot of lore, but still nearly won his way back into it. DKP's such a good player. Can he do it?
This is going to be a key decision point. It could be very well likely that if DKP plays Be Prepared this turn, he will be fairly safe and will be able to win the game. If he waits, trying to get perhaps more value with that Be Prepared, then on the next turn that Pete is going to come down and slam the door. So this is going to be a key moment in the game. Does he play the Be Prepared? It would be perfect against Kurt's hand specifically. If he waits, it might just be game over.
Just a bit a turn too late.
Now it is sort of appealing to play the Sisu as well and hold on to that Be Prepared for perhaps a better time, because Sisu also takes out the Ursula. But then Ariel can quest to 18. There's a Pete and additional characters coming down.
DKP's got to respect the Pete as well, because he doesn't know that 2 copies are at the bottom of the deck. We only know that because Ariel saw 2 when she was looking for a song. So we know that. The audience knows that. Kurt knows that. But DKP does not. He's got no reason to not suspect Pete's, unless you're just saying, hey, you've only got 2 cards in hand. Sometimes you just have to go for it, right, Frank?
Yeah, it's a really tough call for him, because he doesn't really know what Kurt has in hand. Like, Kurt's range is enormous based on the plays he made over the previous few turns, so it's difficult to really deduce what Kurt has. And be prepared to reset the board, then follow up with either Mana or Grammatala, also not clear. Could be fine, but then you're vulnerable to like a bunch of 3+ strength characters over the next few turns. Whereas if you play the Sisu here, then Sisu plus Grammatala can challenge the Ariel on the next turn, and you still have to be prepared. Well, he does go for it, and given the way the hands line up, this is for sure the play that gives DKP the best chance of winning this game.
Oh, is that dice counting B preps? is that what that's for? Oh no, it's hand size. It's hand size. I'm guessing. No, but he's only got him on a 3. I'm trying to work out what these dice were that on Kurt's board. I'm wondering if they were B prep counters or. But I think the hand. They're meant to represent the hand. Just that 3 should be a 4. Find a queen.
Maybe.
I'm guessing that's what it is. Find a queen.
Yes.
Not bad. We're at 7 ink. Queen costs 5. Doesn't get us there though. We're like, because if you queen, Rapunzel gives you a path to game, but the Rapunzel falls to the big Sisu.
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of appealing to just drop them onto the board, and then if DKP has nothing, you win.
Hmm.
But it is kind of unlikely that DKP has nothing. On the other hand, what else are you gonna do? This Rapunzel is now so sad, given that it never got any value. Um, and it will be nearly impossible to get any value off of that Rapunzel anytime soon. Yeah, you also have to imagine that there are gonna be big Sisus in hand for DKP. So playing the Rapunzel is dangerous. But if you don't play Rapunzel, what's the play? Just big Queen? That also feels awkward.
Yeah, we
It's,
do play that Rapunzel P, pass over to DKP, who is going to, of course, respond with that Sisu. So down with Rapunzel. And just a Pete left on board and a one Queen in hand. This Pete is going to get us to 17. There's nothing that can be done to stop that.
Mhm.
Unless we vision and find a let it go, but even then we don't have enough ink to do that. So, yeah, Kurt may be very close to the finish line, but are we out of gas, Frank?
Uh, I mean, we are almost out of gas, but we're also almost at the finish line, right? Pete plus Queen already gets you to 19 if both can quest, and then any additional character is gonna spell game over. DKP will surely also realize that, and he does not want to give Kurt like an enormous amount of time. Then again, what does he want to do here? He can either ink the vision and just play manner and develop his board. That will put up the most immediate lore pressure, but it loses, the visions as a useful card in hand. The alternative is, I guess, just playing visions and digging for like more hard removal or pirates' lives stuff to stay alive. But he is trying to also put down a clock of his own because the attack is the best defense.
Hmm.
That MacDuck Manor will now ultimately give Kurt less time in order to find the characters he needs
Yeah.
to get to 20.
Yeah, because
So I
essentially
like
Kurt
the
just needs
approach.
to keep providing, say, have an answer, have an answer, have an answer.
Mhm.
But if DKP can establish more manners, plus the fact that these ceases are questing for 3, then that clock becomes dramatically lower, less significant. We are going to see the Queen played down. Makes sense, is not removed by a big Sisu. So we should be able to get to 19 lore here unless DKP... No, he's got no dig. I thought that was a developing brain in hand. We could potentially play Tamatoa for 6 and Porpsicle to find ourselves a Let It Go or something like that. That is a way that DKP can keep him off it even more. Might not even be bothered though. Like, do you care if your opponent goes to 19 if you know they can never go to 20?
No, it's only the last lore that matters, and
Yeah.
Ember Steel does not have a way of goats or anything of the like to immediately get extra lore.
There's
It's still a
Pirate's
bit
Life.
scary, of course.
Yo ho, 2 less lore for you. Yep, so Kurt needing to go that little bit further. He was close to the finish line. He's been dragged back onto a pirate ship. Sisu questing for
Hmm.
3. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, we're at 9 lore. Going back, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. DKB has a 2-turn clock already. This queen may have...
Yeah.
Nah, you never trade into the Sisu. You always quest. Yeah, down comes
Yeah,
Rapunzel and Smee.
you absolutely have to quest here with
Yeah,
the queen because now you threaten 20 on the next turn. If DKP did not have that Sisu, Kurt would get to the finish line on the next turn.
And here
But
is...
as it turns out, DKP will be able to answer it and likely can get to 20 across this turn and the next.
Yeah, these Sisus really being invaluable, being able to chain them one after another. And I also like that B prep turn a few turns back off the top of the deck when Kurt quite reasonably pushed the board, having every reason to believe that DKP wouldn't have it. Finds it off the top, super important. We know that 2 Pete's are at the bottom of the deck as well for Kurt. Develop
Yeah,
brain.
now it almost seems like the only out that Kurt has is double whole new world. But if DKP also challenges the queen, which he has to do regardless, Kurt will not be able to play double a whole new world on the next turn. He just doesn't have the singers for it. So what can Kurt actually find here to still to even prevent DKP from winning on the next turn? He has so much to answer. I'm not sure if there's anything in his deck that could even do it. I mean, he gets to 20 to 19. It's really, really close. But
if it wasn't for that Pirate's Life or just one of those Sisus. But like DKP's deck is built in this way. It has a bunch of removal. It's very good at answering these sort of situations and is able to take DKP over that finish line. So we are moving into a game 3. I think this is Kurt telling DKP that he had to put 2 Pete's at the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, it's absolutely something you have to keep track of. Man, this game was also so close, as you could just see with the lore totals. Kurt getting up to 19, and whenever something like that happens, I always think back: was there something I could have done differently? Inked another card, sequenced it in a different way, maybe committed one fewer character to the board at some point. Because there are so many micro decisions in this game, where each can have ultimately the impact that represents the difference between winning and losing. But this was so close, and it's all about finding the be prepared and the big Sisus at the right time for DKP.
Yeah, just like the sequencing of like you don't want all your whole new worlds together and things like that. So will the deck be kind to you basically? You want your Pete spread throughout. You want to be able to have them throughout the match as you're wheeling away. Kurt will be on the play for game 3, I would assume. Tends to be the preference of a Lorcana player to go first. And what a match this has been, honestly. If you're only just joining us, you missed an incredible game 1. I mean, game 2 was also very good, but game 1, that was an absolute nail biter, as Spessy would put it. Really great game. Definitely recommend going back to check that out. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it, but it was one heck of an ending. And we're moving into game 3 now. Later on today on JDZ Quest Twitch/YouTube channel, he will be joined by my co-host at the moment, Frank Karsten, for Spessy versus Zan Zayed. The winner of that match will face the winner of this match, and then whoever wins that will go on to face either Artabax or Jan Moyen, 2 incredible players that will be facing off very soon to see who gets to go to the final. Whichever one of them it is will get to be on the play, as is their right earned via Topping Swiss. So lots of fantastic Lorcana. We currently have 800 people in the chat. We are going up and up and up. Thank you so much for all your support. Really, really appreciate it. A shout out to the players, our wonderful judge Ellie, to Pavel and all of the Pixelborn Connect team. It is a pleasure. And Frank, once again, let me say it's been a pleasure to have you here, mate. And yeah, it's been a fantastic stream. But we're going to game 3. What are we looking for, Frank?
Yeah, this match has just been a blast so far. Well, DKP, as usual, will be looking for ramp, which he doesn't have, and might be a full mull, perhaps even taking out the develop, because, well, you'll likely find another 1-drop anyway, so might as well give yourself the maximum chance of finding the turn to ramp. Kurt, in the meantime, well, he definitely wants an early curve. Daisy, perfect for turn 1. Keeping a whole new world on the play, because he will probably have to refill at some point in order to stand a chance, and he has so many singers in his deck that you will almost surely be able to sing it. Also keeping the big queen. He doesn't have the small one yet, but just keeping it in the hopes of drawing the 1-drop queen to go along with it. And if not, it'll just turn into ink. That is fine too. So like a logical mulligan approach for both players. Where now Kurt is gonna be on the play, and that gives him like a massive edge ahead in the race. Looking at Kurt's hand though, there's no 2-drop.
No.
I mean, he mulliganed away Cinderella and Ursula, which I think makes sense because those are kind of weak in this matchup, especially against 4 big Sisus. But he was definitely hoping to find either another Daisy or a Mr. Smee or a small Queen. He did not find any of it, and if he does not draw a 2-drop on the next turn, that is going to be wasted ink. That is a disaster.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Not the sort of fast start that Kurt really wants. We're going to ink our most beautiful ink token in the deck, the All Is Found, and play it, develop your brain. Look at the top 2 cards and find another. Yeah, so it does appear that these dice are intended to be counting the cards in hand, but just occasionally aren't updated straight away. I do believe that is the case. We do find that, yeah, massive draw. Yeah, you were just talking, Frank, about
but DKP also needs a massive draw here. He doesn't have ramp yet.
No. We're going to quest with Daisy. Is this the ramp? Go on, is this the ramp? Is this the ramp? Okay.
No!
Popsicle.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to draw cards, but that's not what he wants to be doing on turn 2.
That's huge. Just like the now, as DKP is essentially 1 full turn back as far as his deck is concerned.
That's too late. That's too late, and that's very unlucky. Like with 8 2-mana ramp effects, 2 ink ramp effects, there is about a 65% chance to draw one in your first 7 cards, and he had like essentially then another fresh hand. So the likelihood really shoots up, especially with some additional draws and 1 ink card selection up to around like 90% or so to find that turn to ramp. He didn't get there, which is very unfortunate. And let's see if Kurt can capitalize on that stumble from DKP.
Yep, card was a popsicle off of the top of the deck, courtesy of the Daisy trigger, so no ice cream for you, DKP. You've been a naughty boy, you don't get ice cream. Ariel not finding anything. Yeah, all 4 cards went to the bottom. Yeah, we already had that storm. Now we've got a couple of sales, Frank, but it is pretty late.
Well, it is at least double sale, so
sure.
That actually kind of makes up for it.
Gonna deplete our hand a lot, though, right? Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Thankfully, these sales are drawing cards.
You don't mind that too much when there's likely a whole new world coming up.
Sure. Okay, so this was a really nice turn to catch up. Missing that turn 2 ink, but being able to ink 3 cards this turn. The Tala, a Shark, and a Mugduck Mana. We're going to play Develop Your Brain with the ink remaining.
Yep.
And
but still only 5 ink now, which means that Be Prepared on the next turn is not going to be a threat.
So what do you do if you're Kurt here when you're like... Do you just wheel here? I assume you do, right? Again, I'm not a seasoned Steel Song player, but you want to be able to develop more to the board, right? Especially because DKP's 2 turns off of a B-Prep.
It is...
we hit a Sisu. We hit a Sisu. That's probably not going to matter, but...
It is kind of the obvious play to go for the wheel here, largely because you don't really have anything else to do. So you might as well, and otherwise, well, if you were to quest with Ariel, she would get exposed to a Maui Hero to All on the next turn. So yeah, might as well go for it. And Kurt will be happy to see some Be Prepared and the big Sisu go into the discard. Those are... a few less that he will have to worry about.
Yeah, this is a really like again. We were a bit worried when Kurt was missing his 2-drop. Found the Mr. Smee, and it's all turned up pretty roses for him since then. We put down a Queen, DK, and then pass. DKP drawing a Saudi Azure at Sea, Tipo into the Inkwell. That gives us 6 ink. This Maui going to remove. Oh, he's thinking about it. There are already 2 damage on the Smee, courtesy of the. This bumbling mate's self-damage when there are no captains. No, we're taking a moment, think it over.
Doesn't he want to play Sail before the Maui to get like a free ramp in there, effectively? Maybe DKP moved too soon. Like certainly he will have to start on contesting the board, and the challenger Mauis are, well, especially with his hand, the only or the prime way to do that. But yeah, I am surprised that he didn't play Sail the Azerite Sea beforehand,
Yeah,
because
you
it's
makes sense.
effectively free.
Yeah, no, could still ink up to be able to play that Maui even after paying for sale. But maybe that's why DKP stopped. Maybe he noticed that he should have done that. DKP is known to be a very quick player, and hey, like, full respect and power to him. Like, he knows his deck, he knows what he's doing. But that Maui is down. It's turned sideways, but who are we going into? Is it going to be the Smee, or are you afraid of the Aerial sticking around and continuing to sing a whole new world?
Well, at this point, you have to think, like, as DKP, how can I actually like win this game? And if it's just Maui and Maui over the course of the next 2 turns, it seems very unlikely that you can prevent Kurt from getting to 20, basically regardless of what you challenge. So if I were in DKP spot, I would basically think, well, I just have to top deck like a Be Prepared or maybe a big Sisu on the next turn. Like currently, he can only get to Be Prepared, and right when you're behind, you have to play to your outs. You have to imagine the best possible way in which your deck can be stacked, which in this case would likely be Prepared on top. And then you have to make your plays with that in mind. And at that point, yeah, you just want to minimize the amount of potential lore gain or advantage that Kurt can get. I would perhaps even just challenge the Mr. Smee then, because the Daisy can
Give
get
you
you
more
a card
cards.
deeper
Yeah.
to the Be Prepared, and also it takes out the possibility of any Rapunzel value.
Yeah.
Those would be considerations in my mind at this point.
Yeah, all very relevant, and DKP clearly thinking them over a lot. Really cannot decide. It's definitely between. It seems to be between the Smee and the Daisy that he's considering, because he's flickering between 3 and 1 damage on this dice. Although he also may be preempting a Porpsicle heal, so running through the turns in his head. But yeah, this is a great start from Kurt. This is game 3 for anyone. I see a lot of people in chat just joining in. We are on game 3. Game 1, well, I'm not going to give anything away, but game 1 was an absolute spectacle. I highly recommend go back and check it out if you missed it. Game 2, also very good, and now we find ourselves game 3, DKP versus Kurt Spice, who will progress in the LC3. Maui is going to take out that Daisy Duck, and we're using the Porpsicle to heal that damage. Every piece of willpower helps. Passing back over to Kurt, because we've used our ink for the turn. We're going to ready, set, draw. Finds a Mr. Smee. So we don't have any Peats in hand. No Peats. No A Whole New World. No way of digging. So we have to respect the B prep being possible on the next turn. So if I'm Kurt, I would imagine we want to not over push it here, because if you do and then you're B prepped, then you're in a terrible position, despite looking quite good at the
exactly.
moment.
I don't think there's.
You don't have to worry about the Sisu either, was the only other thing I was going to say.
Good point, for sure. Given that Be Prepared is the main thing, yeah, there's probably not a lot of point in, say, playing Queen, Smee. That's just too much. If you quest with everything here, you would go up to, 15 lore. However, the Mr. Smee would die or get banished. Then Maui can also challenge something. So you would want to add, and if there's like another Maui coming, you would want to add 4 additional lore to the board in order to present a game on the next turn in the face of a potential additional Maui.
Sure.
Now, so it could be reasonable to play Smee and quest out. You would still lose a lot of characters if there is a Be Prepared if you do that. So it is a little risky. Like it is nice to set up like game for the next turn, but maybe it's also not necessary. You might also say I'm just gonna be setting up game across a bunch of turns and accept that if there is Maui coming. yeah, like I may not win on the next turn, but if I get to quest up to 18 and then have like a slow drip of lore, I should also be able to do it. The likelihood of DKP having be prepared is not supremely high because there's already two being used, or two in the discard, I believe.
We're being called out,
Still,
Frank, for missing something when we were saying about should have sailed before the Maui. We couldn't because Pete had been played.
oh, good point. Yeah.
There we go. The chat has just caught up and they're just calling us out, which is perfectly fair enough. Yeah, that is a good reason why you wouldn't do that. But yeah, we are going to quest out to 16. Where did the extra... Oh, we shifted the Queen. That would be why we got to 16. And we're going to throw down an Ursula. Smee, with one more damage on him, is going to send him to the discard pile. But there's no big rep.
No, and Kurt is like trying to manage it over time. He knows that, I mean, even if DKP has literally nothing, that Maui can challenge the Queen, and he will not be able to get up to 20. But by managing his board in this way, he reduces his vulnerability to a potential be prepared. And that's indeed the tension, the tight line that you have to walk as the Amber Steel player.
Mm-hmm. We lost a couple of those B preps very early on as well, so Kurt knows that a couple are already gone. We're going to ink Tamatawa. Down comes another Maui hero to wall. I know DKP already had these enchanted Mauis, but he won himself another playset, a Battle Bear. Maybe he's got multiple decks with enchanted Mauis. Pretty cool. We're going to take out that Queen and survive. And I think that's all that DKP can do this turn. We don't have anything to sweep the field in our hand. We have how far I'll go to dig and help us find something.
It was still a great call by DKP on the previous turn to challenge the Daisy rather than the Smee, because ultimately he also must have thought that even if I may not have be prepared, Kurt may have to respect the possibility. So Kurt is not going to like overcommit fully, which means that I can also take it somewhat slow in order to challenge the board. And with these Pirates' Lives giving you additional time, this is far from over yet.
No, these Pirates Live, sing together 6, +2 lore for you, -2 for the opponent. Sometimes just that one turn or two that you can buy is all you need with this sort of deck. We saw an incredible comeback in Game 2, and almost in Game 1 as well, so we know that this deck can jump. We're going to pass over to Kurt, finds a Gaston Baritone Bully off the top of the deck. We can go to 18 lore this turn, courtesy of Pete and Ursula.
And if you're in Kurt...
Go on.
He can go to 18, and importantly, Kurt will pretty much know that there is no be prepared in DKP's hand, because surely DKP would have preferred to have played the be prepared over, just another rush.
Another
Maui.
Yeah.
But you will have to be scared of the big Sisu. Now, you can get around the big Sisu by likely just inking the small Queen and then developing some 3 strength characters like Smee and Gaston. And yeah, that is indeed what he's going for.
Okay, this is pretty big. We can only play one pirate. No, we can play 2 because we could pay for one and we could have the 2 Maui sing the other. So that would take Kurt to 14. But then he can go to 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 still. So we really need something else. Like, because if one of these Mauis is challenging, then then he can't play 2 a Pirate's Life here. One, how far I'll go. Yeah, so I think Kurt may have this locked up, judging by this hand. We're going to play another how far I'll go. Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
we can
he's
dig.
digging for the B
we can dig for the B prep. We don't get it! It's 2 Maui Sharks! I'm not seeing another out here, Mr. Karsten. I'm not sure if you are. We can play one... We can play one
the Pirate's Life gets Kurt down to 16, but then, yeah, it's still...
Just the Smees get us back up to 20 alone. We could have sang another Pirate's Life if we didn't challenge with the Mauis, but then it would still have been game. We're going to keep digging, but I don't think there's anything that we can do Is this DKP packing up his cards? Yes, it is. Kurt Spice is your winner. 2-1 against DKP and will progress to the next match against either Spessy or Zan Zayed in the Lorcana Cross Continental Clash, the LC3. What a game, Frank. Are you impressed with that?
For sure. This was an incredible match to watch. Now, DKP had his work cut out for him in this game. He was on the draw. He missed his turn to ramp. He did his best. He played towards his outs, indeed digging for that be prepared that he needed in the final turn. But like overall, this was an incredible spectacle to see. Where Kurt, even though as I mentioned at the beginning, Ember Steel often not favored against Ruby Sapphire. He pulled it out with expert play, and especially in that first game, that was one for the ages.
One for the absolute ages. That game one in particular, I think is. I'm going to check my analytics later, and I bet you anything you like, that's the most replayed section of the match. But I do believe we have been joined. DKP, Kurt, can you both hear my voice?
Yes.
Yeah, I can. What's up?
Excellent. Welcome, gentlemen. It is a pleasure and honor to have you here. As I'm sure you know, I am joined by the legendary Frank Karsten. So I am very keen to take advantage of that time and let Frank cook. So I'm going to let him start, and if I've got any follow-up questions, then I'll do so at the end. So Frank, please take your pick, Kurt or DKP, or just an open question to both. What would you like to ask these players about, other than asking Kurt why he didn't play Piglet? Because I know you took that very personally.
No, it was fine. It was fine. That's just my personal favorite card. I would say a general question I have for you both, and congratulations on an awesome match. It was a pleasure to watch. And Kurt, congratulations on taking out the victory. I'm wondering if the decks you brought for this round. Are these also decks or builds that you would recommend viewers to take to their local game stores, or did you specifically metagame for this particular field your opponents here in the LCC playoff rounds? So I'll kick it over to Kurt first. For example, if I looked at the Queen package and the world's greatest criminal mind, were those card choices specifically made knowing that you might be up against DKP's Ruby Sapphire deck? Or would you also recommend such a list for viewers at home?
Yeah, so good question. So it's a little bit of both because of the structure of the format after the bans. So they let us all repick decks basically, but we had to stay with the same deck throughout the rest of the event. So I knew going into it, I had to first beat Khan. That was step one to do anything else in the event. But then, I have to then face an open field. And of the decks that I expected from that point, I anticipated a lot of Amethyst decks, either Amethyst Steel, Amethyst Ruby. It ended up being two different Amethyst decks than those two, but I was still kind of expecting that to be the big, pick for Europe, and sure enough, they all picked it. And so that was kind of part of it. And then, so I was okay, I think I want to play Amber Steel if I'm going to play against Amethyst 2 or 3 more times. So then I was well, what Amber Steel deck is going to be best against Khan's style of red-blue? And so I would normally prefer Diggy instead of Steel Song, just typically, and as my playstyle, I feel Doc is a little more powerful than A Whole New World. But specifically against Khan's deck, A Whole New World is really good. Getting an early Queen is really good. So that was kind of my thought process. And I think with just how the metagame is right now, it is shifting towards Amethyst, and the red-blue decks are shifting towards Khan's deck. So I do think that this build would be also a great choice for people to pick up. I don't really like Robin Hood anymore. I feel he's good against other steel decks, but that's kind of why I went with the Aerial Sonic Warrior instead as my steel matchup card. Yep. And I like World's Greatest Criminal Mind a lot right now too, especially with the Queen. That combo is so sweet.
Indeed, yeah, it makes complete sense. Then the DKP, can you explain to me how you arrived at the package of Sisu and All is Found to replace Hiram and also Brawl after the bans? And additionally, I also saw you shaved one Super Goo for the third Tamatoa after your victory this past weekend. How did you arrive at those card choices?
This deck list here is definitely for the LCC. I wouldn't play it at any tournament else. I looked at the pairings and just tried to figure out what everybody's playing, and I just assumed, I was really on super hyper aggressive stuff. Maybe there's like one or two SME players, but but it shouldn't be like super hyper aggro, like DGD or like Amethyst Steel or something. So I just decided to cut Goof for another Tamatoa. So if I have to face the mirror, which was possible later on, I didn't expect Kurt to be playing, but if I face it, I had more value, so I couldn't be outgrinded easily. And then when it comes to the deck list itself, I just also decided to not change that much from the winning list from last weekend, because I have some changes, but I didn't want to reveal everything before the Ravensburger tournament next weekend. So I just decided to run the same, basically. And overall, why I decided to replace Hiram with these cards was against this card. The only way I saw, besides them having a bad hand, of course, the biggest chance I had was just constantly wiping the board, but not only with B-Prep, but with a Sisu, because it forces them to use the Brunos. I'm in top deck mode, right? So they're using the Brunos on that, and at some point I just wiped like 3-4 times already, and then I slammed down a Shark that will stick because all the Brunos went down for the Sisu, for example. And all this found was there to help me getting to 8 inks somehow. Of course, I inked it every single time now because I just didn't have the good timing to play it. And also, I normally also use it only against this card. I mean, it's a beautiful ink.
That's exactly what I was saying. It's like our favorite, our most beautiful ink token is making our way to the inkwell. That was going to be a question that I was going to send you. Was like, is All is Found a keeper? You've already said that you're trying to keep some things private, which I totally respect. But one comment you did just make that it's more for discard than anything else.
Yes, exactly, and because that matchup is just hideous especially if they start broken when they go like Shift Diablo into Ursula, into Prince John, stuff like this. The only way for me it was just keep board wiping, and every single time I lost, the board was just looking like one Zisu would take it all. So that's why I decided to run 4 and not 2 or 3. Even though it's kind of bricky in some matchups, but in this matchup it should be good. But Kurt is such a master. he wheeled like 3 board wipes every single time. Unfortunately, yeah, I know. But yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't spam the Caesars like I wanted, or at least the B-Prep.
Yeah, I mean, like, you made great comebacks, though. Like, game 1 seemed like Kurt was absolutely rolling away with it, but you did put yourself in that position at the end. You had 4 big old bodies all having a party at McDuck Manor. I did put Kurt in that position where it was find the whole new world or bust. And Kurt, I'm sure you'll enjoy watching the match back later, because that was quite a hype moment, and the chat felt the exact same way. So yeah, definitely one of the cooler moments in Lorcana history that come to mind. But DKP, yeah, it's like putting yourself still in the position to win. Game 2 went a very different way, and then game 3, the first thing Frank said was no turn 2 ramp, even after Altar. Kind of brought it back a little bit with a double sail, but DKP could you give us a breakdown of what you think went wrong for you in that final match?
I should shuffle longer.
You should shuffle longer. Hey, fair enough. Sometimes that's as much as it is, really.
So the thing is, like, it's right? Yeah, it's roughly under 5% to full mulligan, using develop, and on the draw, getting the extra draw and not seeing a ram. That's like pretty bad. That's really hard. That is really, really hard. But it overall this was still okay. But unfortunately, Kurt had the Daisy Smee opening, and then again the perfect reel again when I had double be prepared in my hand after the full mulligan. And I had zero what was in the hand. Like after the B prep, I used another sail. I don't remember what else I used. I still had no bot wipes, so that was quite unlucky. And I think I couldn't do anything different there. It's like happens, just happens.
It does. It does happen, but as you say, Kurt is an absolute beast, a very established, very, very good player, and there are a lot of compliments being sent.
Yeah, he
being
played
sent
really
sent your
well.
way.
I think that was like one of the best Steel Song players I've ever played against,
There
or
you
maybe
go.
the best, probably
There
the
you go.
best.
Those are big words, but absolutely deserved. And yeah, Kurt, how do you feel, mate? Let's just bring it back a little bit. You are now progressing into. You've got one more match against either Spessy or Zanzayed. That will be decided later today. And if you can win that, then you'll go to the finals against either Artabax or Moyen. You're happy with your change to Steel Song, I take it?
Yeah, so I knew going into it I wanted to play a lot of Steel Songs, whether it was in the actual Steel Song deck or with Emerald Steel. And before this, I was playing Emerald Steel. But the format has shifted to where there's more Peter Pan Shadows than there are Diablos, which is like the answer to Diablo itself. And then the top decks, in fact, showed that as well, of what everybody decided to play. So, yeah, like I think this was honestly the hardest matchup that I had to play against. Like, Khan's deck has the 4 Sisus, and pretty much any red blue is like not really what Amber Steel wants to play against. Although you can kind of adjust it to like, as soon as you know what kind of red blue deck you're playing against, you can kind of adjust Amber Steel to beat specifically that one. But typically, it's not what you want to play against.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I knew going into this, I was like, well, I can get this to like maybe a 50-50. And then if I win this, then I'll be able to like hopefully cruise from here. I mean, it'll still be hard matches against great opponents, but I think my matchups get really good from here.
No, love that. And again, we have to give flowers as well. Like, Red Blue's a hard matchup as it is, but also against DKP, one of the greatest players with this in combination. What a set of achievements. So that's got to feel pretty good as well, taking down such a well-respected, esteemed player on their pet deck. And yeah, like you may have noticed, we did speak of the ancient scriptures that spoke of you, gentlemen, the Lorcana elders. They spoke of your greatness, and we were able to watch it here today. Frank, any last follow-up questions before we ask for plugs and thank yous and all those sort of things?
Well, I'll say, Kurt, I was definitely impressed with how you managed your pressure in the face of so many sweepers. But in game one, you were ultimately not able to get to 20. Instead, you found your out as you let the Storm Rage on to dig for that final a whole new world. When in the game did you already start to think about that plan of potentially decking DKP? How far did that go?
It was like before the third Whole New World is when I was considering it, because he would started counting his cards, and so I was like, okay, like if I just play 2 more Whole New Worlds and he has to dig for anything basically, then I think I can mill him out. It was like a situation that required Pete to be able to stall those turns to get there, which luckily those kind of came at the right times, and that like I was able to play a Pete when I needed to along those Whole New World chains. And then into that last turn was interesting, right? So after I played the third aerial, I knew the bottom 10 cards in my deck because one of the aerials missed. And so I knew there was 5 cards left, so I could let the Storm Rage on. I had forgot about drawing aerial just because I was thinking about everything else. I was like, well, there's 5 cards left. If I hardcast Storm here, I can still ink, hardcast Strength, finish off the Ready Tamatoa, sing World's Greatest Criminal Mind with Pete, take out the Shark, quest with Queen for 2, shrink the other Tamatoa, grow my Lawrence, take it out. So I got at least go to 18 and force him to not have lethal anymore. And so the let the Storm Rage on. That like let me same song. That let me like choose either or. and if I drew the right card, then I could just win from there. And luckily, I ended up drawing that.
Yeah, very, very well played. DKP, were there any points in the match where you thought you had a particularly difficult decision that you want to highlight, or that you might regret making in any way?
Yeah. Basically, every single time I had to think if he might have the Rapunzel. Like I did kind of bad play in, was it game 2, I think, where I hardcast the Haufago after the Thala, because I was like, if I go like sing, so I could risk it. I could sing Haufago, play out the Maui just to have it on board already. But then if he just swing with the Daisy into the Thala, Rapunzel, and sing World Grace with Criminalize or lose on the Maui, I have basically nothing. And he gains like infinite cards. So I had to think for a long time and at that point I played around the Rapunzel. The turn afterwards, I also had to think about, do I play around the Rapunzel again? Like, or do I take the better value trades? Like, I had the Thala and there was this me and the Ariel. So I could have swung with the Thala into the Ariel instead of this me. So, but then he had another Daisy up that was ready. So he could have just attacked again, and was like, okay, he wheeled. I think it was after a wheel. There's a high chance now that he actually have it. So I just decided to do that. And in the last game, I could have also played around Rapunzel by getting rid of Smee, but I was like, I'm already behind so much. I just need to play to my outs and just hope he doesn't have the Rapunzel. The Smee just basically gets banished by himself. And then my 2 Rush Mauis, hopefully the first one stays alive. The 2 can take out 2 stuff again. And I maybe survive. Like that was the thinking about so long if I play around it, but there was no way to hit the Smee there, and then I couldn't survive if I hit the Smee. It was like I think my best chance.
I definitely think you tried to manage the potential of Rapunzel value in the best possible way. Yeah, when hitting the Smee versus Daisy, I think I was perhaps also already thinking that you might already have to top deck, be prepared on the next turn to still stand any chance. But I guess you still had like some percentages by hitting the Daisy, letting the Smee die, and
but
hope,
to be honest,
but it was just a couple percentage points at that point.
Yeah, to be honest, I gave up already after I missed the ramp. And then Kurt also, I mean, I got a bit of hope because I top decked the sail into the sail, which was like, oh, I have a chance. And then he wheeled me at the perfect time. I'm like, okay, that's over.
Great.
But yeah, very well played, both of you, and congratulations again to Kurt.
Yeah,
love to see more Ember Steel, hopefully taking it down.
No, a fantastic matchup, guys. Again, we want to thank you both for giving us your time for entertaining the Lorcana community. DKP, any plugs, thank yous, shout outs, anything you'd like to say to the audience? We've still got 500 plus here, which is pretty good. The people clearly were interested in what you gentlemen had to say, and of course our guest, Mr. Karsten. So yeah, DKP, any thank yous, plugs, anything you want to say?
Yeah, shout outs to Kurt and my team, World Class Cards. Shout out to Robert, our team owner. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for casting. When I joined you guys earlier, it was amazing. Shout out to the judges and everyone, and yeah, thank you guys.
Amazing. DKP, we are all keeping our eye very close on you and your Lorcana future, and yeah, look forward to seeing what comes next for you.
Yeah, and Kurt will win.
Well, speaking of him, yes, the winner, Kurt Spice. That's got to feel good, mate. Any shout outs, thank yous, plugs, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah. Thank you, Baker and Frank, so much for casting and talking to us afterwards. Baker, you're one of my favorite casters and Lorcana personalities, and Frank, you're a source of inspiration for me for my card playing. Since your finals in the Worlds of 2005 Magic, I watched that, and have been inspired since. Thank you, Khan, for the great game, and my team, World Class Cards. Happy belated birthday to Robert, the owner. He just had his birthday yesterday. And as a shout out, I'm hosting a benefit event on April 26th in Baltimore. It's going to be a somewhat private event, but we're going to have like a 24-person event that we're going to stream, and it's going to benefit Camp Opportunity, which is a camp that helps kids that have faced abuse or other struggles in their life, and give them kind of a good camp experience to ignore all those problems. So we're going to be streaming that on April 26th. On Twitch and YouTube through Ink Inc. And yeah, it should be fun. And this match was a lot of fun too. Thank you.
That is awesome. Please remind me closer to the time, and I'll do my bit to plug it and try and spread the word, because that sounds like a fantastic cause. We'll definitely look forward to that. And yeah, we don't know when it will be, but we know both of you are qualified, and we will see. Very excited to see both of your Lorcana futures, is the bottom line there. But yeah, thank you for your time, gentlemen. Wish you a great day.
Thank you so much. Later,
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy. And there we have it, Mr. Karsten. What a match, mate. I cannot complain about that at all. I genuinely think that game one will be rewatched for quite a while. And it's not over. Coming up, I'm not sure that. Do you know the time off the top of your head? JDZ Quest, are you in chat? I need you to give me a time, because you will be joining JDZ Quest for Spessy versus Zan Zayed, I believe. When actually is that taking place? Let's double check.
I believe it is at half past 12 or half past 11 European time. Roughly in let's say 5 hours or so from now. I'll have to check the exact time as well.
Fair enough. A while, but we'll keep an eye on social medias and stuff like that, and it'll be about. But yeah, Frank, honestly, mate, it's been such a pleasure to share the stage with you, sir. Again, I'm not a Magic guy, but since the moment of first discovering you after Lille, I've done my research, and I see how hard you work. You've got such a great mind for the game, so it's really been a pleasure to have you here. Is there anything that you would like to plug, or anything? Obviously, we talked at the beginning about different stuff that you're doing, but anything immediately in the works? Anything people should be looking out for concerning yourself?
So you can follow me on Twitter at Karsten_Frank. Where I was also just checking the time for the next match. The next match starts at 11:15 Central European Time, or 5:15 p.m. Eastern. That's on JDZ's Quest channel, Zansayat versus Spessy. I also write on a monthly basis for the TCG Player website about Lorcana. And well, for later in the year, I'll have some mathematical analyses coming up on optimal curves and other interesting deck building questions for Lorcana. I like to use my mathematical academic background to analyze card games. But I really enjoyed the opportunity to watch this match. This was a true masterclass on how to play both decks from two incredible players. And thank you all for having me, and everyone for hanging out here and watching.
It was incredible. We hit 800 viewers, which is an absolute record. I don't do many streams, but that's still a record. So I'm so grateful, and there's still 500 people here just listening to the aftermath, which is like, that's such a says a lot about the Lorcana community. But that being said, with Kurt Spice and DKP match over, Kurt Spice taking it 2-1. The players have gone. You've heard about the stuff they've got coming up. You've heard all about the stuff that Frank Karsten's got coming up. And we'll, of course, look forward to seeing your Lorcana future as well, Mr. Karsten, whenever Worlds does come about. But other than that, we are going to leave it there. There'll be more Lorcana later on a JDZ Quest channel. Keep your eyes on social media for when that is exactly. You will see Frank Karsten there as well. But for now, we'll see you soon.